Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, February 28th, the advisory committee meeting. On tonight's agenda, we will be talking with the tree warden, Mark Case. From there, talk about the Neshoba District capital request items. From there, DPW, several departments, the planning board will be coming in, giving us an update on the various articles that they have on the warrant. And from there, capital planning will close out the evening with some advisory business, talking about, proofs and minutes, things like that. So, Mr. Case, thank you very much for being able to make it here this evening. So, guys, this is line item 294. And also thank you for coming in with a level funded budget.
Yep.
So if you wouldn't mind, just briefly taking us through, Brian is new to the committee, and just for the benefit of everyone, a little bit about what goes on, any issues, concerns that you see presently within the town, and things of that nature.
Sure. So the tree warden, every town in Massachusetts is required to appoint a tree warden. The tree warden has care and control of the trees that fall within the town taking, so the easements. There's a little gray area as far as cemeteries, because there's a cemetery department that falls under another jurisdiction, but in Bolton, we oversee the trees that fall within the cemeteries and any of the other public land. So the budget's broken down. The salary is what I receive for payment. For being tree warden, I go out and mark the trees, I do all the poll hearings, and deal with the contractors. Show up every day, whenever we have a contractor in town, I'm either with them for the entire day or I check in with them first thing in the morning, then again in the afternoon, and at the end of the day.
Okay.
And so the next line item, the 5137, is the wages. That is set aside to pay for the police details. When I started back in '92, we used to use the highway department as flaggers. Obviously, some things have changed. The roads are much busier, and depending on where we are working in town, in some cases we get 2 police officers. So that's what that line item is. And then 5251 is obviously the tree trimming, which is what we spend on the actual physical removal of the trees. And then the miscellaneous is actually the disposal of the trees. Most of the trees that we remove in town, if not all of them, are either dead, diseased, or decayed. They typically have little to no wood value, and all of that waste wood goes to a disposal facility, which is Clear Summit up in Lancaster. It's the closest. We've been dealing with them for years and years. It's not like we can really put that out to bid because, there is other wood disposal facilities, but they're miles and miles away further, or you can get someone that comes in on site. We could yard the material up in at the transfer station, but they get 10 grand a day for the grinder. So it's money well spent to go over to Clear Summit. We also, in some cases, if there's some upper Linwood that's good or whatever, we can make it disappear here. A few different residents will take it. But the problem is, the way that we do the tree removals, they don't chip on site. They come with big log trucks with container bodies, and they load all the brush, all the waste wood at one time. It's quicker, you can get onto the next tree, you're not spending time breaking up, cleaning up as much. So that typically goes to a disposal facility that can grind all of it. So there's very few people in town that can take the good wood with the bad wood and the brush and deal with it. And so there's 2 or 3 different places that we can lose a load here or there that helps on the disposal cost. For the most part, we eat up that entire budget.
Yeah.
It's sort of an uphill battle because when I first came on, we were dealing with the decline in the ash trees, and there was a lot of really big trees. So we've never, until recently, really got caught up. There's always, you can almost drive down any road in town and see a dead tree. And over the last 3 years, National Grid's helped us quite a bit. They're in town right now. The first list that they presented to us had 92 trees listed for removal. Of those 92 trees, 24 of them were in good enough health that I couldn't just say, we'd have to either have a hearing for them, and at that point, National Grid just backs down. We'll just deal with the real bad ones. When these bad ones get worse, then we'll deal with them later. So, they're removing right now 68 trees at no cost to us. We still, in some cases, have to dispose of the wood. Typically, we'll leave the wood that's left in front of the property is the first right of refusal to the landowner, adjacent landowner. We found that in most cases, people will come along and pick up the wood, except for some of the big rotted, nasty stuff. Or what we do is the Northern Tree has the contract. It's up in this July. I'll keep a list of what those trees are and give them a month or two. If the wood's still there, then they come back and we'll have them go around and pick up that wood. So, it saves us quite a bit of money.
And so, Mark, again, this is all within the parameters of town land.
Correct. Yeah, it's town property. Now, National Grid still, though, of those trees, they removed probably an additional 20 or 30 trees that were outside of the town easement. They petitioned the homeowner, let them know that this tree is hazardous, and the homeowner gives them the okay, or in some cases, no.
I guess where I'm going with this is, if a tree is being removed,
Yep.
it's either on town land,
Yep.
and therefore the person doesn't have any say in the matter, or
They still have some input, but for the most part, if we're condemning the tree because it's got a lot of decay or it's diseased, then they don't have a whole lot of it.
yeah. And then if it is in your example, National Grid is talking with the homeowner.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. The only
I
question.
don't think they always do, though.
Well,
There was some Facebook
That's where I was
discussion
going.
this weekend
right, but the
about
people
not knowing
exactly, but
who was cutting.
in some cases, that's the house that's 3 doors down, saying, wow, they cut the tree in front of my house. Well, it's not necessarily in front of your property. National Grid, when they have an arborist that goes around and finds the tree issues, and those are subcontractors. The one that was dealing with this particular project was Rick Farrell, who used to be the head arborist for National Grid for years and years and was in this district. So they actually have little flyer things they put on the door, and they won't cut the tree unless they get permission on the private trees.
So the one question that I have, or just comment on your budget, is the miscellaneous line item. We're trying to eliminate that as a term.
Yep.
So
I have no problem just calling that disposal or wood disposal.
all right. So I'll defer to you guys. But is that
That's perfect.
okay? So,
Now, will
Rename.
you just rename? You'll
Yeah.
leave the same account number?
Yeah.
okay.
And the same thing with the wages. I mean, that's a little bit, that almost should be listed as details, or police details.
That'd be better, yeah.
It's just kind of how it was.
Are you guys okay with
I
that?
can't change that one because 5137 is wages across the board.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I could add
Wages.
that
comma.
a different account or,
All right.
well, then I'll do it.
It goes to wages.
All right. Any other questions for Mark?
Is this highly seasonal? Because I was looking at the December spend year to date, and the tree trimming seems to be
Right.
zero. Obviously.
Well,
Is
the
it
tree
all
trimming
spring?
itself, we had Northern come in for a large chunk of time. They were here almost 2 full weeks. We still have some money for disposal and stuff like that, which we will continue to pick away at. But, Northern's bid per day, they don't do it by tree, we do it by day, it is $3,304 a day. So it doesn't take very long to eat up a small railroad.
There's about 26,000
Is it
spent through the last,
Through the last one,
Through the last
26,000?
warrant.
Okay. And the same with the salary and the wages, which are tracked that, they probably higher than when I looked at it in December. Okay.
The salary gets paid out twice a year.
Aha.
Yeah, half and half.
Do we have any longhorn beetle problems?
We don't at this point, but they are knocking on our doorstep. I mean, they're Boylston, West Boylston, they're close. And it's, I feel that it's only a matter of time before they pop up somewhere else. I mean, they have small pockets of them here or there, but that was, I was in on the ground floor of that for the, in Worcester, they had a compliance course, and we were number 48, so we were the 48th person that got certified to work within the restricted zone. So, you know, that restricted zone has grown some over the last few years, but they have it somewhat contained. You're going to still see little flare-ups from someone's firewood or something here or there, but for the most part, they're pretty confident that it's contained. It's not eradicated, but it's contained.
Will that impact your activities?
Not really, no. It hasn't, in fact, impacted us at all here in town, other than there's another beetle that's very similar to the Asian longhorn beetle, which is a white spotted sawyer, which early spring people see it, or July people see it all the time. And so I go out and look, no, it's a white spotted sawyer, but that happens, 5 or 6, 7, 10 times a year.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve tree warden 294 for 47,537.
So,
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Can I see you? Take care. That'll work. All right. Someone from the Neshoba Capitol here?
Yes,
All right.
2 of us actually.
Take a seat. and grab
You can take
another-
one, Ace.
Oh, okay.
Grab a chair.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so we'll be referring to this piece right here, and there's some additional copies if, oh, all right, caller, official.
Catherine Maloney, business manager for the Neshoba Regional School District. And
Internet Commerce Facilities Director.
maybe some additional copies if anybody would like.
All right, well, thank you for coming in, and, this is, just an overall piece of what we go through in terms of working to put together the budget, working in concert with the school committee. You folks with the numbers here, you're working with our capital planning, trying to pull all this together. So, in light of the changes within the district, wanted to, have you folks come in, provide an update. And I know you've been working with Harold to help assess and determine, what's been going on. So, if you wouldn't mind taking us through this, and first of all, I do appreciate you guys starting to look a little further out, so that is good. Floor's yours.
So I'm going to pass this off to Jeff, and
Of course.
he's probably going to be able to give you better information about each one of these line items that I would. And if you want to start with the
Sure.
painting.
Sure. So thanks for having us in. This right here is for the Florence Sawyer School in the Emerson Building.
Mm-hmm.
As our portfolio is the 3 towns, 7 schools, this really pertains to these 2 buildings. I've been with the district now since August, looking at the buildings, in that short amount of time, being tasked with finding some capital improvements to be done. These are the ones that I see and have seen in a short amount of time and wanted to put on the radar.
Yep.
So the Emerson Building is a historic building. The windows are peeling, the trim is peeling, it's getting punky, there's a lot of wood. I would recommend that it is taken care of before Mother Nature takes it back and paint and prime. So I looked at a $40,000 cost to have somebody come in and do some significant scrape priming and painting of that building, of its trim boards. I thought $40,000 was a pretty decent money. You can get a lot done for $40,000. The column replacement.
But that is exterior window, so this is literally just a scrape, prime, and paint.
Just, you have over 75 windows on just the 1922 wing of that building. They're all going to be custom windows. They're single pane, beautiful. Some of them are 8 feet tall, and some of them are bigger with some detail. So, if you were going to go the painting, you can replace them, which we have a price in here as well. But if you were going to go the painting route to keep it sort of weather tight, it's going to need to be painted every 3 to 5 years. This one hasn't been painted in quite a while, though. So that's a number that was your option if you wanted to just do some work.
Do you think the 40,000 would complete the job, or you just, what kind of an estimate is it?
So I got the 40, so I got the 40,000. I had a painter come through and walk with me, and so you have the 1922, then you have the extension of the school that's connected to it, and then it turns the corner. So there's 3 different parts of the school. This really concentrates on just the oldest part that is most, because when you start getting into the 60s and 70s wings, it's mostly aluminum. Whereas this 1922 wing is mostly wood. So this is concentrated on, and as far as 40,000, white paint and primer, how many gallons would that take? Professional company. This isn't doing every single window pane. You have to come in with the old window glazing. This is just the trim, big major parts. This wouldn't have anything, the detail. But the windows are in pretty decent shape. The weights are gone. Some of them are falling off, but beautiful windows. They really are, as far as historical windows. But 40,000 would get you started. As far as finishing it, you never really know until you get up there and you're working on them. But I thought that was a good place to start. You at least get to the trouble areas.
And that factors, I presume you're going to be running into lead paint somewhere in there.
I would say so. Yeah.
So that's factored in.
Yeah.
So it is clearly just a start. I mean, you mentioned that.
This is just to, if you have places that if you don't do something, then the windows are going to have to definitely be replaced. This takes care of. I mean, $40,000, as you know, doesn't go as far as you'd like on some of the buildings. So,
but it's just the trim and no glazing.
No,
even if it
needed. That would get into big. I mean, when you glaze 75 windows that are what are they? Some of them have 12 panes per, and some of the windows, just one pane is as big as that glass right there. But I've looked at them; they're not in bad shape. They don't all need to be glazed. It's just minor.
But they wouldn't even paint the.
No, well, that to paint that would mean mullions and So this is just to get you so it doesn't start to rot and birds don't live in it and insects don't start to inhabit it. But it definitely needs to be.
Painting a beautiful picture.
Address, sorry. So do you want to move on to the next? So if you want, we can go right to windows, though. Where are those?
Columns. Columns are a favorite.
Oh, yeah, no, right here. So the columns. So I called a company that I've worked with in the past, J. Callahan, out of Austin, and they're a large-scale construction firm. And I had asked them, for columns that are 3.5 feet in diameter at the base, that span almost 20 feet to hold a structural, it's a structural building pillar. You have a lot of weight up there. It's a slate roof with a cupola on it. So, it came in at about 15 or 22.5 per column. That's a steel inside. So once you take that wood off, there's another beam in there that's structural. You don't know what condition that one's in. And I'm sure that's wood too. I'm sure. So to replace that with something that's steel that you wouldn't have to replace ever again, and then put that, it's like a form cap so it never rots. That would be the recommended way to go, so you never have to do this again. I guess, talking with Harold, I guess it hasn't been painted over the years. They've been doing some repairs to it, but it's failing again. And at this point, it won't be able to be patched and painted.
So, I am no expert by any such imagination when it comes to this stuff, but as you guys were walking in this building, some columns out there, they look to me very similar to what we're talking about here.
Right.
And so, we've got a number in the neighborhood of 300,000+ for that, for those. Now, it's not just the columns. There's some additional work that needs to be done. foundation work and things like that, but, so a couple things come to mind. One is to what degree would, and maybe not a question for you guys, but a historical aspect on this, do we have to worry about that with these columns?
There is this historical, and that's.
So they're not gonna want steel?
Steel, it's steel inside, so
Yeah.
historical is exterior.
Well, that'll be interesting to see. I'm sure they're not gonna want steel anywhere. So, all right, so with it being in FY18, you're saying that this is, these are in an area where they should be addressed this upcoming year. Because they're not in 19.
They're not
You
gonna
didn't
fall
put
down
them
this
in-
year. They're not gonna fall down this year.
Yeah.
I would say that you should be safe this year. It's just, we put it in this year because I was asked to put together a capital plan for things that I see. Where
Yes.
this could get done, I would say within the next 3 years, it should be really considered to get done. It's really, if you go and you look at them, I've looked at these as well. These were recently done, painted, the ones on this building. They're in better condition than we have it.
How old are yours?
What's that?
How old are they?
Go over here?
1922.
Oh, I don't know, maybe 1922, they're pretty decent shape for 1922, I guess.
What's this?
Is it 19?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's mine.
So, yeah, as far as the price here for 300,000, I wasn't involved in that.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's definitely other things going on here because this project started out in this neighborhood, 60, 90,000. But as they started getting more focused,
Yeah.
there's definitely some bigger issues going on here
Yeah.
besides just the columns.
And there always is, that's pretty common.
All right.
So next item,
Yes.
we have backup generators, it still says 2 there.
That should be-
But it should be 1, and we said 2 because early on, we were looking at the 4 and Sawyer building, but the 4 and Sawyer building has one, and the building is recognized as a shelter for the town.
Mhm.
And, but the Emerson building does not have a generator. And as you speak to other districts, the building that the superintendent is office is usually does have a backup generator to keep a building and their office running. So we put money in for a generator for Emerson. Where's it gonna go? How's it gonna be set up? This was a base on how much would a generator cost to be put into this building. And then there'd have to be more engineering that went around how that is done, but
So previously you had 2, now it's 1. So is it safe to say that 60 is now 30?
no, it was
No,
120 at
it
2.
That's really not funny.
Sorry, I'm laughing only because we did the same thing when we had 2, it was 120, we just didn't change that to 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is a backup generator for the entire Emerson School, the 22, the 52, and the 72, or just for the district offices, which would be the 52?
I believe the plan was that it was primarily going to be for the district offices, but be able to function for refrigerated materials that were elsewhere in the school so that nothing would spoil during an emergency. And emergency lighting and whatnot.
What refrigerated materials? There's no cafeteria in that building.
Whatever, so when you put an emergency generator in any building, for residential, it's to keep the buildings running. Here, it's the schools are empty. So it might keep the heat on, it might keep it so that nothing freezes up. It's whatever the engineer says that a sizable, when we size it, it's gonna be whatever we can get out of that size generator. And they'll tell us what we can power off it.
Yeah, to the chairman's point, I'm okay with entertaining, looking at this thing, assuming it's going to look to cover the whole building to prevent pipes, but if it's simply looking to take care of the superintendent, one, I want to make sure she's going to be there when everyone else is not, because if we don't have power, there's either snowstorm, tornado, something, so.
This building's never had a generator, so, and I'm sure there's been power outage. So could this building survive without power? It looks like it has.
Well, there's no doubt, it's simply, right, we all have, in this town, we have all dealt with a power outage without having a generator, but the problem is when it's -20,
Right.
and then you have the power outage and you don't have a generator.
That's usually when everybody wishes they had an
Exactly.
emergency generator.
So, you know, that is what this town has dodged. And so, again, I mean, I can understand the concept of, you know, having a place as a shelter, and that's already at Sawyer. And I wholeheartedly can get behind that, and I can even get behind the idea of, you know, having a backup generator at this school to protect the asset. But again, it's as long as it is going to cover the entire,
And it
you know.
isn't just to cover the superintendent
No.
per se. It's
Yeah.
the records. We house, you know, payroll records and everything in that building. So if pipes were to burst and there was water damage,
Yeah.
I believe this is
Well,
our
I-
only
excuse me, but-
property that doesn't have a generator.
Well, but can you clarify, please, what is it that we're powering? I'm hearing, you know, making sure that the boilers and whatnot stay up, but then I'm also hearing that to maintain electric in the district offices so that the district, the people who work there can continue to work there. So which is it? Is it in an emergency to maintain the building when it's 20 degrees or 15 degrees, or is it to allow the staff that's in the 52 section to continue to work if there's a power outage? Because that's a big difference in terms of,
Well, it would be doing both.
why?
What?
Why is it, why do we need at this juncture enough power to maintain the district offices so people can work there, as opposed to, as a first step, just maintaining the building?
well,
My only response to that would be, out of our 7 buildings, this is the only one that doesn't have a generator. It's never had a generator, and it probably has lost power. You absolutely do not need to put a generator to keep this running. This is a suggestion from me that if you want this building to be able to sustain itself when the power goes out and it's freezing cold, I would recommend a generator, and this is how much I think it costs.
No, I understand that, but I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing one, to maintain the building, and another statement that to allow the district facility people to continue to work. Those are two different things. Now, in the other buildings, do we have enough power to allow the students to stay in there and the staff to work, or is there enough backup generator capability to maintain the building in the event of adverse weather? So which is it? That's all I'm trying to understand. Because I believe you're going to need more backup generator power to allow the district people to work there, as opposed to maintaining the air conditioning or the heating.
Yeah, so guys, could you, you know, we still have some time before annual town meeting. Could you guys just get a little bit of added clarity around the 60,000? What
Sure.
exactly would it cover? And to the chairman's point, you know, what is presently at the high school, you know, and Sawyer in terms of it? There's already a generator there. When it is in use, you know, what is it? It's obviously, you know, keeping the heat at a certain level to prevent pipes freezing, but, you know, that's a baseline, right? And then what additional, you know, else might be going on? So just some added clarity around that would be helpful, just in light of, we've got a healthy list this year. Unfortunately, we've got more wants than cash.
I think in addition to the clarity, we need a case defined for just keeping the boiler running. We don't need air conditioning. The boiler will function. We can open windows possibly. But the boiler, and that should be really shrink the cost here and protect the assets.
This
That's
is,
really.
yeah, this is really a ballpark figure. You'd have to have an engineer to come in and size up. I mean, this is bigger than just, I'm gonna plop it in and plug it into the school. I mean, this is a significant job.
Yeah.
So to that point, there's multiple boilers in that school, 2 or 3 at least. So we need if you're talking about maintaining heat, you need a system that's running each of the boilers.
Yep.
So
Or a sufficient number of boilers to keep it 40 degrees.
So generator, so boiler replacement at Florence Sawyer, you have 12 smaller boilers, 5 of them are no longer functioning. We had a a price that came in today for $65,000. I know I talked a little bit with Harold today, so his numbers might be a little off. We're both duplicating our efforts out there, so I don't know where to go with that as far as Harold's numbers and my numbers. We had it.
But it's the same boiler?
It's the same system. I think it's two separate ideas of what to
Because we
do.
have an article already on the warrant for almost $300,000 for boilers.
Yeah, and I don't know what, my price is for like kind, what's there now, and replacing it with a newer version of what is already there. I think Harold's is more of a,
But it's for the same thing, and that's all.
it's for the same location.
All right, replacement of floors.
So the flooring replacement for the carpet, this was
On the
from,
boilers, do we know why 5 boilers will not operate? I mean, have we done?
you have to see the system, it's an interesting, it's in such a small location with a massive freshwater tank on the second floor. It's because of the location it is, it's short ceiling, it's a long, there's just a multiple little boilers that are all connected to one pump that works. It's the only way they could fit it in there at the time, probably. So, I know Harold had somebody look at it. I don't know what the size of the units they were looking at or how they would get them in or out, so I really can't speak to that quote. But this one is more, take out the ones that don't work, put newer versions of it in.
With new control.
I was just wondering, if there's a cause for 5 things failing.
Oh,
If
just
we've
over
done a
time.
root cause corrective action type thing that
Yeah,
will never happen again.
Yeah, I guess the plumber that was on, that in-house would service them, they just went from, old pieces stopped working and blowers stopped working and they replaced parts, but they just don't work anymore.
Mhm.
This seems, is this building 20 years old?
Yes.
It is.
Just about.
Afraid so.
But we still haven't finished paying off the damn thing.
No.
This year. It's just like your home.
Yeah. Finished saying it needs a roof.
So the flooring, those numbers came from last year, request from the school to put some new carpets in the classroom.
Yeah, we'll worry about that since you got it in 19 and 20 and the fact that it came from those people last year, I don't even like the number. So,
Scratch it. The AC, same thing. That's
We are glad to have the estimates, however.
yeah, oh yeah, no, yeah, I'm looking forward to your estimates.
So the AC in the classrooms, I guess in that school you have AC in the office and in the cafeteria only. So this would be to add additional.
And this is at Emerson or Florence?
Florence. And again, this is another estimate from last year.
Is this to install AC in all of the classrooms?
Yep.
So I have a question, just because my kids go to the school, and I always wonder this. You see the 375 for the big, is it cost effective to just have window units in, I don't know. Has anybody ever looked? Because I know you can buy air conditioners for $300 or something.
I have, we haven't priced out
If
anything
they
like
shut
that.
the doors and, hit the ones that the sun hit and, because it's not that many classrooms, it seems like, but.
Well, it's
Yeah.
never had air conditioning, so
No,
I've
no.
been able to.
Maybe it's climate change, but they never intended it to have air conditioning.
Well, yeah, and if I remember from past, this also is the only school, just to make everyone in town feel really bad, this is the only school in the district that doesn't have AC. Is that accurate?
Yeah, this comes from the principal of the school with the request too, so.
Yeah. No, it's been in front of us before, at least twice. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to justify in this economic environment when September couple days, might really kind of be lousy.
Mhm.
Maybe a couple days in May, June, but they're out.
Well, that's why I'm wondering maybe if window units could just stop that gap for a little, because there are days that it is,
Yeah.
kids are dying in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the only, I would say the only drawback with that is you can only get a certain size unit, and to really make it work, you have to close the doors in the room that it's in. If you're gonna open the doors,
Yeah.
now the kids hear each other and it's a little disruptive, so, and as you were saying, is it really worth it to get 20, 30 of those, plug those in, keep the doors open for 4 or 5 days, that might be.
Well, I'm not even talking keeping the doors, I would shut the doors to keep that room cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of rooms. You need a lot of units.
I think in the past, because this was a split system we were looking at, we talked about maybe doing it piecemeal. You know, you do the southern facing
That was discussed too. Yeah.
sides. Like, you don't, that is for the whole building,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
And so you could do it at the
Absolutely.
worst, possibly if we wanted to ease the burden of that cost.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's,
We'll spec it out for
in,
next
yeah,
year.
in your timeline, it's for FY '19, but, Mr. Brown?
You're talking splits, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If my figures are all right, if you were to put splits in, I think you drop your heating cost the splits are the most efficient, other than geothermal, to heat a building with. So I actually think you would drop your heating cost down by using those splits, if you get the splits that will heat and air condition both.
Well, that's the only way they come now.
Is that the only way?
They only- they only-
I
they only
just
come-
bought 6, I just bought 6 of them.
Yeah, they only come with both heat and.
And the savings is unbelievable.
Now that's like the units we have in the conference room.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're easy to install, then
And they're
ductwork,
quiet.
ductwork,
Very
with mammoth
quiet.
unit on the roof or somewhere. So, yeah, again,
The
this
window ones.
is the price from last year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the engineered plans, this is a number that came from, so I don't even have the actual.
No, and so what I'm gonna ask you to do, especially on this one, because I mean this has come up a couple times in the past, but you know, I think a greater degree of you know, analysis needs to be done. You know, in terms of, I would love for you to be able to come back next year and say, you know, we're entertaining AC, and here's the various, you know, options, and here's why this, that, and because it really,
I
yeah,
would
it's-
agree with you.
yeah.
I
So,
think that's the right way to actually
All right.
have it assessed.
so let's move on to repair and replace 678 grid lockers, FY18, 22,000.
Yep, that came as a request from the principal. We have had, we have quite, in the district, we have quite a few locker repair replacements. 20,000 seems to be the magic number on most locker replacements because of the amount of work that needs to get done. So we put that in.
And interior walls of the common space. So
What is wrong with the current lockers?
You'd have to see them. Some, you know, some the kids can't get into the locker, so they grab the bottom and they pull it out to grab their sweatshirt. Now the door is bent or
Can't get in because they,
vandalized. Yeah. They can't get in because they forget their locker. They're because somebody has their sweat. I mean, at the high school, there's a million reasons. Brian's talking to me all the time about his locker, so I think it's a common school problem. Yeah, and then painting is another one. The school does need some touch-up paint inside. So we put a dollar amount, you know, and really allocated funds just per year to do a little bit of painting a year, do certain areas, start with the worst. Every year, use a lot of money to do some interior upgrades.
Okay. So, you know, other than the boiler number, so for FY18, you know, what I see in the draft of the warrant is boiler replacement. I mean, there is a large discrepancy between your number and what's in the warrant, but you know, the other items that are being requested for funding. Don, have you seen anything? Have you guys put together any articles and passed on to Linda Day, or I'm not seeing them in the warrant?
No, the only article we have right now is for the boiler for Emerson. I mean, Florence Sawyer, which would come down quite a bit. You know, absolutely come down quite a bit.
The number that's in the warrant, what?
Yeah.
But for a different reason. I had heard through the grapevine that that number was changing But,
Well, I'm the grapevine, so yeah. Yeah, you heard from me that it was changing. Yeah, it's coming down. We're looking at, and Harold's been discussing this with Jeff, we're looking at funding the boiler replacement through the Green Community Grant money that we've gotten. And we think, Harold, we could do it for what, about 105, 110, something like that?
There was a number that was given to us by the company that did the survey.
So that would be a boiler that would use both, or could use both oil or propane, which the green energy people also feel strongly about. So I didn't get a chance to speak to Erica today, but when I did speak with her, she said, the green energy people would, as most grant awarding agencies would now, want to see the town contribute some money towards it. So her recommendation at the time, when I discussed it with her, was that we have $30,000 in that article as our share towards the boiler, and that we would take the remainder out of the Green Community Grant.
okay,
Sounds good.
all right.
Is that accurate, Harold?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
All right, so what I'll leave up to you guys is if you could get a little greater clarity on the generator, and then specific to what you are looking for FY18, if you could get a little greater clarity on them, and then you're going to want to get some draft articles to Linda Day to get into the warrant for us to take a look at.
Mr. Chairman, so we spoke about the splits being for cooling and heating, and we're talking about replacing 5 of 12 boilers. I just wonder if we should be exploring, if it's not too late, the split option instead of the boiler option with the Green Community Grant.
There's not enough money.
And we've got $141,000 total of grant money, and most of that's going to go towards the boiler. So I don't think we can really make a dent in the splits.
But if we match it.
So maybe I'm missing something, but I got the impression, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you saying it'd be an either or, right? If we went the split route, would we even need the boilers?
Right, we'd be,
We would.
We would. Well, there are common areas that wouldn't have a split system in them.
Correct.
Hallways, the gym, things like that would still need, a boiler. We may not need as much of a boiler if we had splits in all the classrooms. And if the splits are more efficient than the boiler would be, then that may be, a good trade-off to look at. Instead of repairing or replacing the full boiler, it may be that.
And remember, we're only replacing 5 of 12. So this is not we're not like replacing all of them. So,
although I thought with the green money, it was replacing, that's still just replacing the 5?
That's right.
It's only replacing the part, so,
Okay.
so, in FY19, there may be, at some point in time, there may be additional boilers that are starting to go.
Yes.
And then you can look at that option, but I don't think we have that option now. I think we need to replace the 5 of 12. And, the other 7 are gonna need some work at some point down the road.
So there is still that potential to analyze this.
Yeah, it makes sense to look at it as a system.
Yeah.
If you replace 5,
The
you're
boilers
committed
can
to,
change.
you're probably gonna replace all 12 over time.
Right, but if it's true that the splits make the thing work differently and you need different boilers, then you should look at the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
I guess is the point.
So, and everybody's familiar with what a split is, right? I mean, it's like having your own personal unit in your room. A tremendous amount of work. Harold's right. Offering the heat, and then it does offer the cooling. Condensing units need to be put in. I think, if I may, I think the best way to go about this is to look at every option and come up with the best solution. Because right now you have a building that's built for one thing, and now we're talking about putting another different type. we really should probably get our heads wrapped around what.
So yeah, and I guess that's where I'm going with when I said, to figure out what, you've got a listing of FY18 stuff, and I said you'll need to get some articles, but I've also been hearing, as you've taken us through this, you've gone out and you've gotten some numbers, but it sounds like there could be significant more analysis to determine. So just case in point, I don't know if you did meet with our capital planning group or not, but they get a whole list, right? And then they start ranking, from critical to need to can wait to nice to have. And I agree there should be a final category, ain't ever gonna happen, but that's not there yet. So I would love for you guys, because what I'm hearing from you is columns, that can go on to next year. This conversation with, boiler and AC, maybe there is a more concentrated effort to take a look and see what collectively is going to make sense. Now, if there's grant, and I know a split is exceptionally efficient, but if there's a grant and 5 of 7 are going to get replaced, and by doing those 5, the other 7 don't necessarily need to be replaced, or when they go and are taken over by splits, so be it. And we went from 12 to 5, great. But I'm definitely concerned about just plowing forward and saying yes to these. And it sounds like there could be more.
If we don't replace these boilers in FY18, we don't believe that we're gonna be able to get through another heating season. So there's an awful lot of work to be done to be able to get that done in this budget. And I just wanted to comment too, that I recall Bill Cleary's AC presentations, because we had them at least twice.
Yeah.
That was for central air, this wasn't for splits. So having 375 down here for splits doesn't jive.
All right. Yes.
Jeff, if you don't mind, the building's 20 years old. Those boilers haven't been built for 10 years. They were bottom line boilers when they were put in there. There is no parts available, none, for the heating units themselves. What makes up the boiler, I'm not talking the gun, I'm talking the boiler itself. Of that, right now, I don't believe we got 7 running. I think we got 5 running. On a cold day, Jeff was saying we need 8 running. These things have been going. I have reports that go back 3 years that they knew these things were failing us. All right? Jeff and I talked about this, and what we came up with, and I know that Jeff's new at this, is this. We maintain 6 and put a new boiler in there. We take the boilers we took out and put them into storage, because those are the parts you're going to need. So when you're one of your other 6 that's set in there, you go down and pick up the part that would from what you've taken out. The boilers worked on a lead lag. 6 would run, let's say today, those 6 would run tomorrow. Well, the problem is also we got an energy management problem, and that's failing us. So we came up originally with replacing those 12 with 3. Well, since then we've toned it down, and Erica came up with this grant. So we're going to maintain our 6 good ones, and then we're going to put that boiler there, that new boiler there. Hopefully that new boiler is going to be big enough to, well, will be big enough to run at least 6, if not what 7 would. If we get 10 degrees outside, those little boilers now will start up, and we'll have the parts. I think it's the most efficient and most cost-saving. We're throwing nothing away. The only thing I was asking the grant, if Jeff doesn't have room, that we put a storage trailer down there, and all those parts be put in there. There's other problems that's got to come with this, because we've got to get these boilers to communicate with themselves. How we're going to do that, that's an energy efficient people have got to come in and get this to do it, so they know when to act and to work. The splits are very efficient, but in order to have splits, we're going to have to bring an HVAC engineer in here, and that building's got to be engineered to what it is. We're talking a year or better before we get through. We can bring a boiler in there, size it up, they take the boilers that are there out, take them apart, take them out, take the new boiler apart, it'll come in pieces and assemble it. And we're up and running. There are some other problems Jeff knows about that I've discussed with him, is the oil lines running to the boilers need to be double walled. And I believe Jeff and I have talked as a trough, and we're both concerned about that trough and the oil that collects there. We need some sensors. If that floods, so we can shut everything down, because we have a transfer pump that's on the first floor. That transfer pump runs off pressure. All it knows is pressure. When that pressure drops, I pump. If you break a line, it's gonna just keep pumping. So we need some safeties there that never have been put in. Right, Jeff?
Excess flow valve.
Yeah, we need it. We need it. So that's why you need, you really don't have it. As I said, I got 3 reports. Royal Steam, Dominic himself, and the manufacturer of our boilers came in. And he looked at them and he laughed. He said they're way past their life expectancy. I think we still got a lot of good parts, and we can still do something efficient and maintain 6 and put a new one in.
No, and I remember the conversation, and so that's why it's on this, clearly why the article is here. And I remember these things being critical and we can't go another winter, but then I started hearing a different conversation tonight, so, all right.
Couple mild winters in a row.
Very lucky.
A little bit.
Extremely lucky.
But you sort of answered one of my questions, which is, are you guys working together? And you are, and so.
Yeah. You just gotta, you just gotta give Jeff a little leeway here. He's brand new at
Thanks,
and dealing with this.
All right.
And as part of the work that you do with him, helping put together whatever articles are needed?
Yeah, we work together good. And there's, he's got an assistant, Jim, who's very good.
Okay.
Yeah, no problems. No, we haven't got any problems at all.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
No, we knew the articles would be, I just want to say, we knew the articles wouldn't go on the warrant until the plan was presented and
Okay.
advisory gave direction on it.
Yeah, I mean, in light of the list, and I'm just gonna hold on to the one thing that you said, that the columns could go another year.
I think so, Harold, I mean, Harold and I were just out looking at them the other day, we both agree they probably need to be replaced.
They need to be, they've been needed to be replaced for how many years have I talked about it?
No, you're absolutely right.
So can it go another year? I think they can. I probably could do another 3 or 4. If you wanted to.
Well, Harold, is there any economy of scale in having the guy that does the front out here pick those up as a add-on to his contract or whatever?
I would have to refer that to Don Lowe.
Don, you're glad you showed up tonight.
Yeah.
I don't see given the 2 projects where there's economy of scale, because you'd have to reset up over there.
Okay.
So no, I actually don't.
Okay.
And when those columns are done, you're gonna have to have an architect and a structural engineer, because the columns are gonna be spec'd and all that.
Absolutely.
I know. Okay.
All right.
So, it sounds as if the boilers are sort of taken care of in.
Yeah, they're already on an article.
Article on that, there's already one that's there, and it's just a matter of finding what it is and tying it in with the grant. The rest of the stuff, you kind of need to work out what you want to put in, talk with whoever you need to here, but we kind of need the articles for the next couple of weeks, basically.
So the exterior painting of the Emerson building?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, us asking you guys to come in is mainly because my expectation is, you guys are the experts. And if you're telling me, you're telling us that the exterior Emerson painting, needs to be done, and it needs to be done in 18 versus 19, and then yes, it should be up.
Okay.
All right, so I will.
The same with the generator,
Yeah,
the same with the lockers and the same
Now,
with the thing.
if through the conversation tonight that we had with the generator, if, I asked for a little greater clarity, if through the course of that, you guys go, oh, yeah, it's actually closer into the neighborhood of 40, I would love to see that on the warrant as opposed to 60. But, you know, I know I'm living in a fantasy world.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, besides the generator, as Jeff knows, because we've talked about it, he's gonna have to go in, and he's gotta put switching gear, and he's gotta run all electricity to all these units that are gonna be run by that generator. And I don't know if Jeff put that into that 60 figure, or maybe he has.
Wait, you want to increase it?
I don't want the
It's gotta be
same
done right.
mistake that's
What we
been made.
want- What we want is an article that's done right, whatever the number is, that it covers what it's supposed to cover.
I remember Sawyer starting when the circulating pumps would run, but not the boilers. I remember Neshoba, the same situation.
No,
They fire the boilers, but not the circulating
You're right.
pumps.
I mean, Ken is correct. I mean, we want an article that is accurately reflected.
Brad, do we have agreement on the scope, though? Is the scope to protect the assets, or is the scope to
Well, that's what they're gonna tell us.
operate?
They're gonna decide that and let us know.
So we're gonna need direction from advisory on which projects we should be putting articles together for.
Well, so based upon this list, again, my rationale is, I mean, how would I possibly know that I can say no to these? So my assumption is, it's a yes to the painting, columns, I heard could be put off, generator, yes, boiler, yes, lockers and paint, yes and yes, so. Unless you're telling me any of those
Right.
can be put off another year, then looks like we need articles for all those.
Okay, so you said painting, backup generator,
Boiler, it's already on there, that's right.
or is already on
Everything except
there?
for columns.
Yeah.
Flooring
Lockers.
replacement?
Yeah, so there'll be 4 potential new articles.
No, floor is for 19.
Yep,
Sorry. There'll be
So-
4 potential new articles,
Right,
not counting the boiler.
right.
There's already one for the.
All right, so the lockers, the paint, the generator, and the painting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it's, I don't know if it would, but if you wanted to combine the 2 painting ones together, there's nothing wrong with that. But,
But you don't know if you have
Usually
people that
judgment when you're
specialize in
looking
those type of windows? and-
We would do them
yeah, I
separate.
mean,
It's
it's
just
just
for
put
simplicity.
together, maybe it's best to keep them separate.
Do them separate.
Because it may be
Especially
that,
one at the
yeah, keep them
start.
separate, and the ideal thing would be if you had a real, either a real estimate or a real bid by May 1st. Because then whatever the number was that was in there could be changed on the town meeting floor and say, we've got a bid for 38.
We can't ask for bids if we don't have the money appropriated.
Right.
All we can do is ask for
Estimates.
estimates.
And so while we're talking about, since we have, if the selectmen could explain their new process on how we go about this, like, what else are we gonna have to do? So he gets a bid, we've gotta make sure we've got experts written down. You guys refresh what we need to do.
So for the portico is a historic, I mean, the columns are on a historic building, 1922, so I guess that would involve the historic commission, and there'd be a similar review.
That's being put on.
That's being put up, yeah, to next year.
Yeah, let's put out.
Yeah. But the generator, for example.
You're gonna have to have it sized. You're gonna have to get someone, an engineer in to size that.
No, I'm
You
just,
gotta look at everything that's gotta be done,
I'm just trying to get a sense,
and we
you
don't
know,
get the money for the engineer.
we're putting all this together, assuming advisory says yes, the selectmen say, even if the selectmen say no, if the town says yes, my concern is we've then appropriated a whole mess of money, and we've got this new selectmen process that we're gonna end up waiting a year, so.
I mean, what's this new selectment? What are you referring to?
This whole thing that we've gotta go out and get experts written down, and verbal isn't good enough, and we've gotta get,
We're buying a generator. What experts do you need? You're buying a generator.
They need to give us plans, and they need to tell us what they want. I think that's the thing, and that, I
I'm
think we
not
can answer
looking
your-
for another culvert situation to take place with this stuff upcoming is where I'm going with this, Stan.
Oh, I understand. Well,
So let them go home and do their homework and come back with whatever they think, and then we can decide whether that's an idea.
So my process will be finding qualified contractors that actually do this. Ask them to come in and give me what they think we should do with what we're trying to accomplish. I'll bring Harold in because Harold will want to have input and offer suggestions as well. We'll come up with a plan, they design it, they say, this is how much it's gonna cost, this is what it's gonna do, and, you know.
All right, so you got 3 weeks, because the warrant gets written, finished, signed the end of March. So articles written in a legit number, so you gotta get on your horse on that.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so this is something voters want at town meeting. They want to see documents. They want documents that they can review for every item on there that they're voting on. So it's not just the selectmen.
No, I have.
You know, it's not just these like verbals. People want to be able to see the documents before they vote.
Are these going to be posted on the website?
It would be great if
I
we
mean,
have
how else are
time.
other people going to see them?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've been pushing on, is getting these documents on the website.
And we're doing it.
I've been doing this for a while. I haven't heard townspeople saying that you know they're not getting enough information. And when there's a unanimous vote on a given article, then we're ready to move forward. I'm simply looking to make sure that we're not going to get held up on this cycle, seeing how we've got money appropriated. In some cases, last year, we went forward and borrowed, and we're now paying borrowing costs this year for projects that we haven't even been able to start because of that process that you guys have put in place.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to be clear, I don't believe any citizens were clamoring for documents. It was two selectmen who were clamoring for documents.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So let's be clear about who needs what here.
Well,
All right. Ms. Case, you had a question?
plans we need.
No, actually, I was just, regarding the documentation he needed, I was just thinking the bid process we go through. And if he wanted,
But that's after the fact.
All right.
As Dawn said before, we can only get estimates.
The estimate.
okay, all
Right.
right, then.
So you usually try to get one plan that everybody agrees on, and then you go up to bids, so you have apples to apples bids on 3 different competitive contractors, and that's really the standard process for that.
All right. So
I got you. 3
Yeah.
weeks.
3 weeks. That's all. 3 weeks.
That'll last.
That's right. That's
This shouldn't be a problem.
all right. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Harold.
Leslie, bring the paperwork down.
Okay. Yes, sir. Please. Please do in front of the donuts.
Yeah.
They know just where to put them.
Yep, yep. No.
All right, I'll take 2.
Watch your hand.
All right. So let's start with 190 town buildings. So the big increase that I see on this is repairs, line 5241, going from 18 requested up to 26. And if I remember correctly, you know, you got your run rate, like right now, you guys are almost out of money, I believe, on this one.
There's 190.
Yep. 18,504, that's what they said.
Yeah, so what's happening with,
190?
yeah, repairs on 190 town building? You're gonna it's gonna be solely based upon the library?
Line 190, no. Why did I say that?
We've had,
But it's, I know 190, 52, 40, we're out of money. That, we've been out of money since probably,
we had a problem with for our force main, and we've had to buy 2 pumps and have 2 overhauled. And we still have an electrical problem. I think that took up about $8,000 or $9,000 that was unforeseen.
10,
What?
like 9 or 10, yeah.
Yes, we had problems, yes, we've had problems in the library, and you're gonna probably see me come back for more money on that. We've got a roof problem, and it's...
On the library?
Oh,
And
yeah.
the lights,
I end up with very expensive on the lights, I think $6,000 or $7,000 lights on the library. And I had an electrician go in and he'd replace a light bulb here, and then we have to take all the fixtures apart over there. And that went on for several weeks. I had to bring a lift in for him to get up to the lights. And we were just having one failure after another.
and the lights aren't just regular, you could explain them, they're
They're-
the new
they're,
building and
They're special for the building. They're just nothing that we can
Cost-effective.
buy, and everything is
energy
special in cost.
saving.
As I said, right now, there are more expenses going on with the building, and we're finding we've got a roof problem.
So just, for the benefit of everyone, 190 town buildings.
I know, I need the articles, yeah, the articles. That's what I need. Yeah, 190 the town buildings, that's it.
That, other than 192 where it says town hall, but town buildings
Yes,
represents more than just a library.
it's your public safety building, it's your Houghton building, it's your town hall, it's your DPW, your garage, your office, and that building. And also,
The old fire station too, right?
what's that?
The old fire station too.
And the old fire station too.
All right. So there's, looking at the approved FY17 going to the FY18. You know, you guys, you see that? 190.
Yep.
So, you know, maintenance up slightly. Again, the question I had was repairs from 18.8 up to 26. But, so it sounds like, given what's going on, the fact that you guys are, you know, what is it? I mean, yeah, you're 100% through it right now.
Yes, we're still spending.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Tell me about ground maintenance. It looks like that's looking to go up from 10 to 17,000. So that's a fairly healthy increase. What's happening there?
That's your playing fields. And, oh, excuse me, no, the 17, no, I'm wrong. It's crazy, your 10,000 is still your playing fields. The 7,000, that breaks up to 17,000, is looking for your if the common is accepted, this is for us to go out and hire a contractor that would do the maintenance work on the common. Would do the spring and fall cleanup and do the mowing.
Yeah.
We're beyond stretched now. And so if you look at that 7,000 versus if I had to put another person on, I put mowers on, it ends up the most economical way to do it.
So 190 town buildings, ground maintenance going from 10 to 17,000. You guys are assuming, which I guess in a way you have to rightly so assume, that additional 7,000 is the assumption that the town takes possession of the town square.
That's correct.
And you guys hire out mowing, is that,
Right.
so
We'll contract it out.
spring, fall cleanup, grass cutting,
That's right.
and what about winter services?
Winter services I didn't put in there because it would be going to our snow and sand account, our road account. And we're just
Your
plowing.
favorite.
We're just plowing.
We just,
Plow it.
Yeah. All right. Questions from,
I actually had a question about the plowing. So
Yes.
I feel like when the common came in the fall, you might have asked a question about whether Harold had actually been out to like see the space and see how it would work out. So has that happened? Like, is it,
Yes, I did.
okay,
Yep, Kelly Plowage, yes.
all right.
With the same machine that does your public safety, your library, your town hall, your Houghton building, the old fire station will also do that.
Got it.
Maybe just a little busier.
so,
What's under miscellaneous?
We actually, last year, we moved money from that because we weren't using it and we moved it to repairs, I believe.
We're trying to get rid of miscellaneous.
Yeah.
So
Then
if there's
that's
somewhere else we
fine.
can move that money.
I would put it into 5240.
Into maintenance rather
Maintenance
than
or
repairs?
Um,
You know,
I-
that line is pretty
Excuse me,
foggy.
it's so, I know, it's almost like you want to take both of those accounts and just lump them together.
maintenance and repairs.
Yeah.
Right, because it's,
It's a foggy area.
because what happens when I run out of money in repairs, I use maintenance anyways.
Are you
Which
going
is
to use
fine.
maintenance then?
Which is fine, because
Which
everyone
is-
does that. It's-
But yeah, that's fine, I would just leave them the way
I
they
have
are.
no choice.
Yeah, you
So,
can run them up and
So
down.
do you want
Easier to ask for forgiveness.
But where do you want to put that to?
That
Just
two
you
thousand.
You know,
care.
move
Either
it
one
any
to
way you want to
maintenance.
move it.
Either one,
Just move it any way.
because, yeah,
Well,
But
just
I-
put 1,000 in each one.
I almost would think it'd be great to put those together and call it repair and maintenance. Just one less
Doesn't bother me.
line item, and it's,
Well, Nanashka, you're the, I mean, I will defer to you since
So
you're
you don't,
kind of,
you don't
you're
care?
I don't care.
running this.
So
So,
I'm all for consolidation. but-
yeah.
Mine.
Move it on to
I mean,
maintenance.
you know, mostly a tracking thing. If you guys are trying to track maintenance versus repairs, then you would care. It doesn't bother me.
It's,
I mean,
I could
if you're
tell by
trying
looking
to,
at an invoice,
if
you
you're
know,
trying to
it's-
see what it costs to maintain, you know, they're, like you
it's up
said,
to
they're
you,
kind of
what do
big.
you think?
I would lump it.
Bump it.
Lump it. All right.
all right. So miscellaneous and miscellaneous maintenance and repairs will be combined to
Yes.
a line that,
Yeah.
Maintenance and
Combine
Maintenance and
that.
repairs, 5240.
Great.
any other questions on town buildings?
Okay.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve town buildings with the caveat of lumping those together for a total of 143,505.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Okay, next is 293. .293 is traffic lights. I don't have any questions. Anyone?
The spend through December would be indicated, if you annualize it, it's $500 to $600. And I just wondered if you put any special bulbs in that have used less
LEDs.
LEDs and things. If we can claim a benefit from those, that would be great.
We're going LEDs everywhere we can get it, and it's just that the fixture will take them.
So I mean, just a rough estimate, it looks like if you cut the 1,300 in half, it would still be very adequate. But
We've gone over every
maybe
year.
you want to
No,
look
no,
at
no,
it
no,
more
no.
carefully.
I would, yeah, because this is an 11-year-old.
Well, we're just looking at electricity, and it's not seasonal, I don't think. It's a traffic light, so you should be able to annualize and believe the number,
Oh, okay.
I think. And it would really be,
Yeah, I mean,
$540 if we wanted to get it to the Nat Cyber, but I wouldn't do that. I'd go up to the nearest
Me
100.
too.
I mean, what Ted's referring to is, we're looking at a document that says through the end of January, there's been a total of 300 and change spent on electricity for the traffic lights. So
Okay.
if you just take that and multiply it by 2, it's 6 and change.
Okay.
So,
That even gives you an extra month of.
yeah, yeah, so,
Remember, we changed, we redid those lights. When we redid them, we changed them all to LED. So I
Okay.
guess there
Yeah, I mean,
is savings.
All right.
That's
so
supposed to happen.
can we knock that down to $600?
Mr. Chairman, you can do anything you so please.
Well,
So you're gonna go 1,300 to 600.
yeah.
Okay. If you run,
The numbers are stating that you guys are,
Okay,
Yeah,
Come back, Vinny.
yeah, that's right.
okay.
So the repairs still needed, even though you made the
I
change?
would keep it in, you gotta have to keep
For
something
the
in
older
there.
lights, right?
No, it's the
There's
traffic lights, 110,
No.
117. No, this is traffic lights, this isn't.
Yeah.
Oh, the street,
Street
okay, I'm
lights,
just, I
yeah.
keep
Zero
forgetting you only
spent
have a
through
few traffic
December,
lights
so.
and-
Yeah, so, you know, something still could happen, but what, I don't know, hopefully nothing.
I was. Thinking the street lights is what we
Go ahead,
said
close
last
that.
year.
excuse me, Ken?
I'd claim the savings in electric and leave the repair the way it is for now, so you gotta go this year. And if
All right,
it seems to be that low, then you can reduce that, so we can claim that.
all right. Any other questions on 293 traffic lights? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve traffic lights with electric going from 13 to 600, leaving repairs at 1,900.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Let's see, 421. Highway, okay. Salary, wages, okay.
So you're showing a big drop in wages.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me, that's a great point.
I can speak to that.
Please do.
Somehow, and nobody caught it, Harold's salary got baked into the wage line last year in the budget. So, I missed it, DPW missed it, advisory missed it. I will take some responsibility for that.
Well, you found it, that's the good thing.
So, but on the flip
helps with
side,
snow and
it
ice.
helps you with snow and ice this year. If that makes you
So it
feel
is
better.
So it is what it is.
Which we just blow through like crazy.
That's fine then.
All right.
So,
So while we're talking about that, I've got an updated sheet here. I wanted to check, how are we doing? We've been waiting. Have you guys
Snow and ice?
gotten, no, the
Oh.
COLAs, anything? How are we doing?
I have not heard.
Are you,
Well, I mean, you and I have discussed it, but we just haven't asked the selectmen for the formal approval.
all right, so, all right. So yeah, that,
Would be nice to plug it in.
yeah, yeah, and
It's a
so,
fair amount of work, so it'd be, yeah. The
exactly.
longer we wait, the more work it is.
All right. So Stan, being on advisory, but also finance, talking with Dawn, there's, a number, I mean, we came to a number on around 2%. I mean, is that something, where are you guys, have you been talking about this? Is there something that we might be able to, since you're all here, can we get something going here to move this along?
I'm comfortable with 2%. I mean, that's what we have in
Right, I mean, I've done,
the latest union
I've done quite a
contract.
bit of, I've done quite a bit of research on it.
Right.
2%'s the number. I'm very confident that 2%.
Most of the surveys I've seen are ranging 2.5.
Yeah.
So 2 is.
I'm fine with 2. I think that's what we should plug in.
So is there anything that there has to be an official vote on, or
We don't, many times we don't have an official vote, it's just, I go off and do the research and then we run with it.
Yeah.
An official vote doesn't hurt, but, it's good to know that we've got consensus though from the select.
So what's the research? You talked to comparable towns or?
I've talked to comparable towns, and I've also spoken with agencies who have visibility over probably a couple dozen towns, and there are a few ones out there, there are a few threes out there, but the vast majority are twos.
And from my listserv from the HR managers across the state, that's what it is.
And I was at the MART, Massachusetts Regional Transit Authority meeting this morning, and they approved a 2% COLA as well for all of their employees. That's out in Fitchburg and all the surrounding towns there for the various drivers and all their phone people and all the employees in the agency.
So who has the surveys done? Where are they?
They're with the entity that I spoke with, aside from the town managers that I've spoken with, and Donna's listserv.
Yeah, the listserv. All the HR managers send out a listserv just to get a feeling of what the rates are. And the list came back pretty much like Dawn said. No one was 0. I think there were maybe one that was 1%. Everyone fell in the 2.5% range. And then there were a handful that were 3.
Right.
And this is non-union
Right.
people.
Right, this is a consideration for basically the town hall employees and the library employees. Everything else is driven by
Yeah,
contract.
everything
and
else,
unions.
yeah, it does not include any union employees.
I would just like to see that, whatever one of these meetings we were talking about developing a list of comparable towns.
Mhm.
And I would like to see what the comparable, I don't think we decided on that list, but I would like to see what they're paying in exact, the 1.2 or 1.8 or 2.5.
Well, all I can say is,
No one's set yet, for the most part. Some people are just bringing it into their budgets. So it was, what do you expect to include for your 18 budget? So there's nothing set in stone yet, no.
So no one's actually decided yet?
I don't know. That was a
Yeah.
survey that was sent out. They wanted to get a sense of what people were.
We're probably on the same boat
Included.
here, trying to get something.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everyone's trying to firm up their budgets.
we know that the vast majority of the plans will be 2%.
Have these references pointed to the source of their 2%? I mean, have they consulted CPI or, Department of Commerce data? I mean, really real, actual data from that generating a number.
Well, that's usually not done with
I don't think
municipalities.
so.
For the most part, they're probably, as Dawn knows, they're probably driving it based on what they anticipate their unions to be. Because most communities try to keep parity between that. Though you can't
So
say
it's
it
not
sometimes if you're in
really cost of
negotiations.
living.
Correct. Correct.
yeah, I mean, it's that
It's a sense of
it's
what it ought to be.
this parity because
Why
there's
shouldn't it-
factions,
If it's a COLA, why shouldn't it just be cost of living?
because
Because
we're
that's not
having
the way it
unions.
works.
Primarily
Yeah.
because of the unions.
Right.
Yeah.
That
So
you
if
don't
everybody
want,
else
you
gets
don't want to
3%,
discriminate
everyone
against your
gets
non-union employees.
That's right.
It's not really fair.
Right.
Part of it.
We've had a practice, since I got here, we have had a practice of making sure that the non-union employees are treated the same as the union employees.
Because you
Otherwise,
don't want them to unionize.
otherwise you'd be getting more unions.
Right.
And there are towns that do that, and they end up unionizing.
Yeah, so and
So
this
that there are
is,
plenty that unions get more than non-union people.
and so this was my this is why I was hesitating a little bit, just because we're all talking out in the open and public. I'm not
Right.
looking to
I'm not looking to negotiate a contract in here.
Yeah, but I'm also not looking to put you guys in a more difficult position if you're.
But it is March 1st.
Have-
We need
Yeah,
an
I'd like to
answer.
get
We
moving.
really can't go weeks and weeks without.
How difficult is it to plug a number in now?
It's not just, so I have to go into each person's pay rate and change it. So it's.
By person, by department.
Yeah,
By
it's
person,
timely.
okay.
It's not just, I can't put 2% and have it roll,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately.
All I can tell you is it's my professional opinion that 2% is the correct number, based on the data that I have.
I agree.
And you're saying that as well.
I agree.
I mean, that's good enough for me.
Alright.
But I don't know that we have consensus yet. I'd like to know we have consensus.
Yeah. Well, let me check with the folks up here. Not that it matters, but
It does matter.
especially with you hearing it from another organization, how are you guys assuming?
Non-object.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I'm not a fan of you. I agree, but we can't get rid of them. I mean,
I say a non-object.
AIDS, you know, they're there. So, all right. So it sounds like here we have consensus set too. At least on advisory, for that matter.
I did have a question about the wages though, just separate from the COLA stuff. I noticed it looked like there were some folks that were going down 0.38%. And I just was wondering what the background of that was.
It's just the formula. No one's going to.
That could be,
Is that just a-
some days we have an extra, some years we have an extra day.
An extra day.
Oh.
And so,
So
yeah,
that's
so I
why.
think there was
Got
an extra day in FY 17
It
and
was a leap.
Yes.
it actually came out perfect for FY 18. There were no extra days. Like sometimes, yeah, I think whatever till.
It goes from 260 to, actually, you go to 262.
Yeah, so June
sometimes.
30 ends on a Friday.
Got it. So it's just like an accounting thing.
Yeah.
And no leave.
Right, no, leave here, that was one,
Yeah,
yeah,
so you can't go
exactly.
260 to
Yeah.
262.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. So,
All these numbers make
any
sense.
other questions? Everything else remaining is coming in level. Any other questions from advisory on 421 Public Works? Anything from the crowd?
Nope.
So are we gonna have any type of consensus or on this, or are you guys gonna look to study this more and?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't see any agenda item on this. I had no notice of this, and I would like to discuss it further.
If we had some data on individual towns for Thursday night, would that be soon
That
enough?
would be very helpful.
It's not on the agenda
It's
for
not on the
Thursday night.
agenda. So what do you,
It's,
Well, what about during the discussion of the warrant?
It's not on the agenda for Thursday night.
Okay.
so now we're.
it's on the agenda as far as I'm concerned here, given the fact that we're talking about the budget, but, all right.
So we may or may not need a meeting on the 9th. So we'll either have to call a meeting on the 9th just for this, or it'll be pushed out to the 16th. Well, actually, we're not scheduled for the 16th, it'd be pushed out to the 23rd.
That's,
No,
that's,
That's too
too
short
late.
to get.
That's too late.
All right, well, I'm gonna, I gotta have a sense of at least
Are we gonna-
moving.
We'll have to call a meeting on the 9th for this.
Brad, do you want to vote on each of the line item numbers, or?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because I was
for,
gonna ask a question about 422. but
Yeah,
I don't
so-
want to get ahead of it.
yeah, let's get through 421, at least, as is, again, subject to the stipulation of, figuring out a COLA for, I'll entertain a motion to approve Public Works 421, as is.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so 422. All right, construction and maintenance is 422. I see that coming in also as level funded, wages of 8,000, public ways safety of 8,100. Miscellaneous we got rid of, and then local improvements. So tell me a little bit about that, if you guys.
Local improvements.
What roads are you gonna do?
I'm gonna continue with the taking care of distressed areas in the town, and we've got to finish 110. We've got some problems with, on Harvard Road, we've got a few distressed areas, and there's several other areas in town, like Wilder, that I see I have distressed areas. It'll be doing just what I did before, the cold planing of areas that are bad, and the areas that are good are gonna be left course like that, and I can stretch my money out a long ways by doing that. I'll wait for some of the other roads to see how they come out of this winter. But 110 and Wilder and Harvard will eat quite a bit of that money up.
So just for the purpose of everyone aware, so local improvements, 194, that's where you're gonna be going out and fixing those roads?
We'll be
Okay.
going out in the distressed areas.
Yes.
Not all the road, the distressed areas will be repaired. And there probably will be some work done on drainage too. Structures that we're having problems that are collapsing, which happen every year. There is a change got to be made, and it's in your public ways. We are 8,100. There was a request for another $7,000 to...
So effectively doubling?
Just let them finish.
It's a request for $7,000 to change the lines on 117 from 4-inch to 6-inch.
And that's gonna cost an extra 7,000?
Yes, it will, because when you do paint, you can't just paint it once. You're gonna have to paint at least 2 to 3 times, at least 3 times, to have that paint fill in the voids on it.
So,
And that is all, that is not as your centers and your fogs. And that amounts to 24 lane miles that you're gonna paint.
so public way safety goes from 8,100 to 15,100?
Yes, they have requested, and I did not put it in, they requested that the lines be widened by 2 inches.
And what does that do, other than cost the town an extra $7,000?
It widens it from 4 inches to 6 inches.
Do we have to do this?
Is there data on the safety for that?
Well, let's hear from the, please, yes.
Mary Chumo, Public Way Safety Committee. This all came about with the discussions surrounding the high school area and ways to lower speeds. And recommendations from Mass DOT were different traffic calming techniques. And one of them is to have wider striping on the roads from 4 inches, which we currently have, to 6 inches. There also is a warrant article that DPW will be submitting for $40,000 for engineering to look at that whole area. That would be one of the recommendations that would be coming out of that. I do want to mention, Harold, is in our 8,100, we only, that money goes to line painting for 12 roads outside of the route numbered roads. So we do not, that 8,100 does not involve painting of 117. Your budget always handled that. So
That's
now
correct.
what you're doing is you want to put 117 into our budget?
No, the $7,000 extra to go from what I would normally pay,
Right.
and then, or else add it into the other budget. One way or the other, it's
Okay.
$7,000.
But our 8,100 is for 12 roads identified that are off of 117, 110, 85. I have the list if you want to see
Harold, where
it.
does it go in your budget?
That would be under, would be probably under local improvements that the painting, the line painting goes under. The same with catch basin cleanings and sweeping.
Well, I don't think it ought to go into the public ways budget. Just my opinion.
Yeah, this is our request for,
Is the public ways requesting the lines go from 4 to 6?
Yes.
Why wouldn't it go in public way safety then?
I'm just saying, I wouldn't put it there. I understand the argument, but if it's, but it makes no sense to me, because think of them, the bill's gonna come in for the painting of 117, and so they're gonna have to mentally remember that this much of it comes out of this pot, and this much of it comes out of this pot, because two different people wanted something.
We do that
And I think it's silly.
We do that anyway.
Okay, that's fine, if you can do it that way, that's fine.
We do it.
So,
All right, so leave it there then.
Can I say one other thing?
please.
The reason why we've asked for that 8,100 is at some point, line painting was not done on the side roads because the Harold's budget just didn't have the money to do it. And the reasoning behind the line painting is traffic calming. What those lines do is they create the illusion of a narrower road, and therefore making your vehicles drive at a lower speed. So that is the purpose. The secondary purpose that everyone likes those lines for is that you can see the sides of the edges of the road.
To me,
But that's
the
not the
primary
real purpose.
To me, that's the real purpose.
But you can't see them at full.
When I named for that years ago, it was the real purpose.
Harold, if we have the wider lines, then we don't need to do anything else to calm traffic. I mean,
No,
this
no,
is
no.
the remedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good thinking.
We don't need belt and suspenders.
I do.
Do the least.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. So I'm trying to figure out what, so if this is specifically for the school, then why are we doing the entire stretch of 117?
Because that's what I was asked to estimate.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have your lines. First of all, 117 would benefit from having wider striping. And if you drive through other towns, you will see on their main roads that they do have 6-inch striping.
I haven't seen that. I only see 4-inch.
Sudbury,
What other towns?
Sudbury.
Tom, is that in your comparable list?
It's not my comparable list, Mr. Chairman.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
All I know is our surrounding towns.
No, I think what I was saying about the comparable list is that I think it would be helpful if we had a list of comparable towns, which I believe is what arose, Ken brought up. I had developed my own list, and it sounded like, we needed to agree on one for all of these different things.
Is
Put that on the
117
agenda for my friends also.
is 117 scheduled to be restriped or painted?
It's
and
painted yearly.
Does every
It's
year.
done yearly.
It's
Okay.
done yearly. The fog lines get painted a minimum of 2 times, and it'll depend what the centers and how much wear there is. I could be painting the fogs twice. They paint it, paint the other side, go right back and paint again, so you fill in all the little.
So it's just the incremental for that other 2 inches.
That's how much it's incremental. You go from 4 cents to 6 cents. A linear foot. But that's right, Jim.
Okay.
That's if you think you're gonna gain that much. We have 11-foot lanes now. Our lanes are 11. That's been a big conversation, and no one could just understand. The road is 26 feet, and when you start doing the deducts, you end up with 11 foot. There are a few points like that, 117, 110, that's wider at that intersection. But other than that, you got 11-foot lanes.
So tell me more about 11-foot lanes. What does that mean?
Then that's what is, that we've had that historically. And a lot of lanes, you go out on our highways at 12, ours are 11. And that goes into what they call traffic calming today.
All right.
We've had 11 forever.
Psychologically, so to speak.
That's right, it's a psychological thing.
So the towns that are going out and doing 6 are psychologically, they're at 12, so they're psychologically looking smaller, but we're already at 11,
Right.
is what you're saying.
That's right.
And again, why, I agree with Ted, if we're gonna attempt to slow this down, why would we have an article for 25,000 for calming signs if this is the first go-round and we put signs off to some other year?
Signs there were not my budget.
Yeah.
So there's $40,000 for engineering.
Well, they're not there.
Well,
We're not,
If
that's,
approved, all this is going to have to be done anyway. That will be part of the recommendations.
so again, why would I want to say yes to paint when we haven't said yes to 40,000 of engineering?
if you go 40,000 engineering, that's only engineering.
It's a step toward,
Yeah,
it's one easy thing that can be done.
we're gonna.
Without having to do engineering, without having to think a lot about it.
But it
That
sounds like
people
we're still
believe,
gonna do
no.
this. We're still gonna do engineering, and
But the
engineering,
engineering is for a redesign of the intersection.
which then costs, what, a 10 times factor, or 15?
10 to
But that
15%.
but that has
400
nothing
to
to do with,
600.
that has nothing to do with 6-inch lines on the rest of the road.
Why doesn't it?
At that particular place in the road, yeah, you'd have to change it, but it won't affect the rest of 117, it's just that one intersection.
So, but again, the comment started out, we were looking for, this all came about for traffic calming around the high school. So if that intersection is around the high school, and then this is to cover from Lancaster to Stowe, why are we not just focusing in on that area? And if we're gonna do that, why would we not see if that works first, and then look at these other signs, these other things?
Well, Harold said, and think about the guy who's doing the painting. He's not gonna wanna go along with a 4-inch thing and then widen it at one place and then narrow it down again. I mean, if you're gonna do 6, you wanna do 6. If you're gonna do 40, you wanna do 4.
The 40,000, if approved, you're looking out a year. And then once you get the specifications and everything for it, then we gotta go out to bid with that.
With the engineering.
That's correct.
And why-
We gotta bid engineering, we gotta bid construction.
Why is traffic calming 40,000 engineering, why is it sponsored by you?
They needed a sucker.
Why is it not sponsored by the town of Heart of Bolton, where Tom Frayne and...
Public Way Safety Committee.
Why is it not sponsored by
The
you,
Public Way Safety
Tom?
Committee is a legitimate committee of the town. It's an appointed board. They're allowed to sponsor. If you want them to sponsor it, you could have them be the sponsor. If Harold agreed to do it, then that's all right too. Mary would like to be recognized though.
Yeah.
There was a meeting held, actually there have been 2 meetings held at the high school. One in the fall and then one a month or so ago. Represented there were members, selectmen from the 3 towns, police chief, Harold, Don Lowe. I was at the first one. The general consensus, superintendent was there, school committee members were there. The consensus was there is a real safety issue with the high school area, and there's a need to make a change. Mass DOT was also at this meeting, 2 representatives from Mass DOT. When the high school was built, there was a safety issue because the building committee went against Mass DOT's advice about not putting a driveway out onto 117, but having the driveway out to Forbush. So already you have already started the safety issues. And then in 2000, the Classic Pizza went in on the corner. So now you've already got another safety issue, complicated by the fact that it's a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone in that area. It's been problematic for over 17 years. And a large group of people got together at the high school, and we wanted to make a change, to see what we could do to make that area safer. These are all recommendations from Mass DOT. They're not things that we just came up with. So this is what we're bringing forward to you.
I guess my point is the Mass DOT was also the organization that was going to take over 117.
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago and they haven't. So we're dealing
They
with it
haven't
now.
for a very particular
And to be
reason.
perfectly honest, this is a very positive thing that finally people are saying we'd like to address safety issues in this area. And I'm very happy to see that people are concerned about it.
Mr. Chairman,
and
aren't you,
doing
isn't
something.
there an article before you, I think, from the police, I think, of sponsoring it, for a set of
Yes.
lights, school lights
Yes.
that's going in there.
Not school
Yeah.
lights, but
They're-
traffic.
The traffic
Solar
lights,
power.
that'll be flashing
Speed lights,
solar.
right. That's
And
part
then
of
there's
it.
another article on 4 speed signs, am I correct, Don?
Yes,
Four-
yeah, that's-
Yeah.
4 speed signs, and there was a conversation I had with the chief on putting 2 down in there.
23.
And we've put signage down there. You know, I think we're jumping all over the place here. And we're spending money, and,
Well, yeah, that's sponsored by the police. And
Yeah.
again, what, you'd think it'd be sponsored by the Heart of Bolton.
well, either way, I mean,
That's unfair, Brad.
No, it's,
Yes, it is. The issue of safety at the high school, the issue of speed on 117 has been an issue for 30 years or more, and we've bumped our heads against the wall for that length of time, trying to get something done down there. And so, and I think what I would say about the things that are in those articles and about this painting is that there are a number of different things that you can try to do to improve the situation. If it's possible to find something that can be done without a lot of engineering, that some people someplace have felt makes a difference, whether it's feds or state or other towns, whoever it might be, that has made some difference, why not try it? And yes, it's multiple things. And putting up those speed signs in Lancaster apparently made a big difference in the speed that people travel. It may make no difference at all, but it might help. And if it helps, then that may improve the safety at the school, and it may make people feel better about driving through the town or getting in and out of the intersections or whatever it is. That it's not just, I don't think it's just the people who live on 117, but it's people who go drive out onto it as well, and people who are traveling through the town. And so it's a number of small things that people hope will improve the situation.
yes, but it's also, it's 25, it's 40, the 40, assuming that goes, that's engineering, assuming that goes through, that's 400, it's an extra 7,000 in the budget. These are all now expenses being borne by the residents of Bolton.
That's true.
Well, Brad,
That's true.
I think,
That can't be
Well,
fixed.
Brad, I think you really need to understand that, you know, it really doesn't matter who sponsors it, but obviously, I mean, having the DPW or whomever sponsored in the town, I think is fine. I think, you know, this will raise and elevate to your point that, you know, there was serious consideration over many years to try to get this work done. And unfortunately, due to circumstances, the state walked away. So we no longer have that opportunity, and I think the residents of Bolton need to know that what would have been paid for by somebody else is now, most of the cost or significant cost is going to be borne by the residents of this town. So I think it's fine to have it on here, and I think the residents of the town need to understand that, you know, based upon actions that occurred 2 years ago, we're now faced with these costs. And if people want safety, then they're going to have to pay for it. So, you know, I don't think there's a problem with Department of Public Works sponsoring it. I think the key is that now the cost is being borne by the town. So, and we'll let the townspeople decide if they want to spend it or not. To your point, the 40 grand is going to turn into a much bigger number if they want to move forward with it. I think it's important that it be done.
I think the traffic lights in Boylston, from my observation a few times going through there, and when they're flashing, I see people slowing down. And
Are they 6-inch lines on that
no,
road?
no, they're the flashing lights that says school zone.
Why don't they have 6-inch lines too?
Oh, wait a minute, that road is 6 because that's state. The state put those signs up there and put the bills. Anywhere there's a state, they put the 6. All surrounding towns use 4.
That's ironic. Yes.
But some towns are even taking broken down cruisers and parking them, and that's slowing down traffic too. So, I mean, there are different things to do, right, but a lot of small towns are doing this.
Okay, let me finish.
Yeah,
Steve.
right.
422.
Let's finish the
Yes, we
list.
move on.
Yeah, thank you.
Construction and maintenance, 422, so wages 8, public safety now 15.1, local improvement 194.
Do you want to vote on separately on the
Yep.
line that has the 15.1 in it?
Sure.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to vote.
All those
There,
in
but if you
favor,
want-
yeah, no, that's a good point. All those in favor of public safety going from 81 to 15.1, say aye. Entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second? No? Don't have a second. All right, so 422, construction maintenance, so it looks like it's gonna remain at 8,100. And therefore, construction maintenance 422 remains at 210,100. All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. 423, snow and sand, 180. There's a very good reason why we keep that at 180. So, although it has been heavily overspent already, I am in favor of keeping it at 180, moving forward and continuing to deal with the process as is.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a,
Fire away.
I just want to tell you that this next year coming up, when after you voted this in the town meeting, I can see already $52,000 going to have to be spent for sand. You're probably going to spend about $36,000 for salt, provided the shed doesn't stay full and we don't have any more, then will be a little less. So if you put those two together, you're probably somewhere around 86,000. We haven't spread, and then you're going to end up buying some supplies, which are going to cost you 20, and you're going to start fixing the older trucks and taking that out of snow and sand. So you'll be lucky to start next year at 50,000 actual money. I just want to warn you ahead of time.
But you're in agreement that the 180 is what should be voted though, aren't you?
I have no objections, I just want everyone to understand that 180 was put in with sand alone, was $5 a yard. Now we're looking at 13. But as long as everybody understands it and people don't have a meltdown when the expenses start coming.
No, we understand. I mean, last year we had a very mild winter.
And we still went over.
And we still went, no, yeah.
There's only 1 year that I remember, the 80 was, 180 was worked, and that was it. 1 year out of all of it. But just to understand, that 180 probably goes back 10 years or better.
Yeah.
And the expenses were a lot less.
Donna?
Well, out of the 200 that was just transferred over, what are we left?
A couple thousand.
That's it.
Yeah, we're still that, and I still have bills coming in from repairs. I've still got repairs, and I think there's more salt.
There's more
But
salt.
you can overspend snow and ice, so.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely
No,
more
and that-
bills coming in.
And
Exactly.
Brian, you understand
Yeah.
that, right?
I mean, and I will say that we have been talking about this, especially over the past couple of years, about looking at increasing that to say 200. I'm concerned about furthering that discussion with two, folks out sick this evening, but Harold, I understand, where this is, and I know what you guys really do start the season with. And I know this has gone back a while. It was there for a reason, as we just mentioned.
That's
right?
fine.
So I think for the time being, we can revisit this. I wouldn't mind waiting until the others are here, but, and I'd probably like to do a little deeper analysis and see how it shakes out. So with that said, I'll entertain a motion to approve snow and sand, 423 for 180,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. 424, street lighting, electric and repairs. Assuming this might be the same, Ted, did you happen to take a look on the run rate on?
Through December, $2,700 and call it $20. So 54, 5,500, so, you know, the 6,000
What's that?
is
Yeah.
around.
All right, so it's
And
it's on
there's
pace.
no evidence of lights being changed out or LEDs or anything.
Yeah.
No, solar fixtures won't take them, you know?
All right. All right. So.
So that should,
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve 424 at 6750.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. 433 transfer station. Overall, falling by 4178 relative to last year. So it looks as though the big driver here is wages overtime going from 5150 in approved FY17 down to 0.
Why? You pay overtime, so I don't know why you're not budgeting it.
Did I just forget to?
I think we should put something in.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just an
No, I
error
think,
or
I
was a
just
strategic
thought all
omission.
salary, not to, when you guys said about any salary.
Through December, the spend on that was $950, so call it $2,000. Annualized.
So I'm good with that, using this year's run rate. So extrapolating out 2,000
No, oh, okay.
as opposed to 0. I mean,
Yeah, don't.
I love the fact that, again, I love the fact that you guys are here, but I don't like when you,
don't think
you're
it's
not
gonna
here
cover
to
that.
increase the
Well,
numbers.
I think 2 is too low.
I do too.
I do too. When you look at the past
And
years.
look at all the history, it's been 8.
And the thing is, what you have to
6.
realize is that overtime is when the 2 guys who work there are on vacation or sick, and Harold has to put
That's
someone
what
in
it-
there.
All right,
That's all
so it
overtime.
comes on, so, but to Ted's point, I mean, right now, it's,
But it could be,
But it's
what if they
seasonal.
all take vacation
I
when
know.
they're
Exactly.
And
It's
these guys
summer.
are having
It comes
vacation.
in-
And then I have the.
at the end, when they realize they need to use their
all right,
vacation.
so it's gonna come in
Right.
May and June.
That's right, that's when they
Yeah.
all
I
go
would
on
leave it-
vacation.
I would leave it the 5150
Yeah.
if it were me.
Or just
Yeah.
5,000.
5,000.
That make it.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
that runs up in the summer.
Who's the Van Halen fan in the crowd here? 5150. All right. Harold, I remember past conversations on this, and, you know, the big thing is, the cost of recyclables and the impact of China and all that. So give me a little sense of what's happening, because, I mean, there's not, again, other than that wages overtime, I mean, you guys are pretty much in line relative to last year. So,
Yeah, and the increases you're seeing are just the contract costs going up.
all right. Okay, so transfer station, the one change from wages overtime from 0 to 5,000. I'll entertain a motion to approve as is.
So,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. 450. Coming down the home stretch here.
Is 439 even underneath it?
I'm sorry, Ken?
Wasn't that the Board of Health?
I think that was under another, yeah,
Oh,
it just happened to be on this page, I think.
450?
No, 439.
Oh,
It was printed on this, I think it just got
That's,
printed
yeah, that's what it is.
inadvertently on this one.
So, four, yep,
So what's next, 491?
No, 450 is next.
450.
No, more monitoring.
Yeah.
We approve?
Yeah, so, but we've got so we do have two different well monitorings. We've got,
Public safety, and that for the potable water, and we have the and we have the landfill.
All right. Any questions? Because I don't, because I know the situation. All right. Yeah. All right. 450 water well monitoring, 5,000. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. 491 cemetery remaining as is. Purchase of services. Again, if you wouldn't mind, just refresh my memory. I apologize. In purchase of services, what goes on there?
That's the actual digging of the graves.
All right. And ground maintenance is all the grass cutting.
No, that's usually, where is that? Right here. No, the ground maintenance is any improvements we might make. I know like South Bolton Wall is down, or whatever we're gonna do to maintain the cemeteries and keep them up.
Okay. All right. Remaining level relative to last year, 8,000. I'll entertain a motion to approve cemetery 491 at 8,000.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, and then, let's see, 692?
That's the Memorial Day
Yes.
flags and stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll entertain a motion to approve 1300 Celebration Memorial Day, 692.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.
Articles?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so I don't necessarily know if I need to talk about 23 again, calming signs, but...
Well, no, wait, let's start with Public Works Department, the expenditures on the Public Works.
The ones that are legitimately
Well,
yours?
I understand, but everyone's a different sheet.
Is that
I wanted to start with the sheet that is the equipment first, which should be vehicles. And that's what I got first in line. I do want those for explanations, so I want this to look at. Okay, there's this one here.
We don't have that.
That one there. Everybody got that?
We have that.
Oh,
You have that.
The article. The warrant.
No, I don't have
That's not the full warrant.
Nobody got that.
no, you know, I saw that. Where in the hell?
Just, you might have the numbers. That corresponds
I have all
to...
of, do you guys have these? Do you-
Oh, hold on. You know what?
You want to talk about the repair of problems?
That's right, Joe, the truck.
$35,000,
I
right?
want 35,000, that's what I want to start with. Okay. Are we all on board?
Fire away.
Okay. All right, 2018 truck repairs. This is your larger trucks, every truck that's 36,000 or larger, which would be your Sanders, plow Sanders. The cabs on those trucks are, the average age is 18 years old. I've got several of the cabs that are one of their windshields is held in with silicone, correct, yeah, so thank you, silicone, and you don't have to wonder when it's raining, because it's raining in the cab. It's running down, it's running in our dash, and we're having problems with that. Those cabs, if we're gonna keep those trucks, those cabs need to be sent out, and they need to open them up and refabricate them.
So this 35,000 will take care of how many cabs?
Now, that should, I'm hoping that'll take care of 3 cabs, I hope.
Okay, and that,
That's your larger trucks.
yeah, and so that looks like it's just kind of a Band-Aid
That's
to
right.
get to next year, because FY19, you're entertaining.
Yeah, well, that necessarily will, the cabs that get cut open and be done will be the truck that's decided to change. Let's go to the next one, your 938G loaded. That one there again, the cab itself has holes in it. It's a 1999 machine, it's got 7,000 hours on it. What we're looking for is money to repair the cab, and if there's money left over, to do some sandblasting and painting. You'll automatically see that load is 18 years old, and I would expect its life expectancy to go another 10 years, with some repairs and so on. So we're not looking for one, what we're looking for is money to keep this up. Because there hasn't been a lot of money spent on it in all the years you've owned it, so time does catch up with things.
Okay.
4-wheel drive, 19,000. This is to replace.
This is Article 26, guys.
This is the one to replace the 12,000 GVW, and that truck is 9 years old. I waited 10 years on the other one, and it just barely made it. Its transmission was going ahead of sundry of problems. This truck does too. It's done a lot of plowing, a lot of work for us, and that's one of the trucks that's used 12 months a year.
And so Harold, is this the game plan for this? Is it the same as what was approved last year, that Ford 550?
Maybe a
that
550
you guys
Ford.
Just took receipt of?
And replace a 350 Ford.
Okay.
And that'll be a truck with a dump body on it. Okay, now, we'll just go quickly, if we want to, out 19, I put in for a plow sander. The new plow, the heavier trucks, the 36 to 46,000 GVWs are running 228,000 today. I've looked at quite a few of them out there, and that's what they're paying, what a 6-wheeler's costing you. 2020, again, another 4-wheel drive, 19,000. That, I upped that to 115,000 for inflation. By that time, the car that I drive is now an 05, so it's 12 years old. You put it out another, you're putting in, what is it? We're going down to 2 or 3 years to be quite a bit older, and I don't know what it'll do with. Your building maintenance is that SUV that we got from the police department, and about that time, you're gonna have to think about replacing that. And then you go out to 21, which is another sander, big sander, and I plugged that in at 245 for inflation. And 2022, we're looking at another 4-wheel drive, and I plugged that in at 130 with inflation. So this year here, I'm looking for the 35 to repair, the 25 to repair,
Yep.
and a new, another truck to take place of an older one.
Yes. All right, and then there's, so traffic study.
Okay, now we're going over, we're jumping.
Oh, okay.
So we're
He's going by year, you're going by category.
I'm going by category. We want to go by year or category?
I only care about this year.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to give you a view of what's coming,
No,
and you're not helping me.
No, I apologize. You're
don't.
doing an excellent job. I
Okay.
want to be respectful of capital planning, because they're
Correct.
They're here, and
I understand they're here.
Yeah, and they're going to be talking about this too.
Okay, just bear with me, all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, we got traffic calming, and that's at the intersection of Forbush Mill, Green Road, and so on. And the school doesn't exit onto Forbush Mill, but exit onto Green and 117. Traffic calming, at $40,000. You vote that. Just keep in mind, you're gonna vote 400 or 600. One or the other. That's what the figure is, and that was brought CEI, right? The engineer from CEI, SETI, and Bay State said, just remember, it's a 10 or 15%, depends what we're doing. So just remember, that's what you're looking at. And will that calm the traffic? They're not gonna calm, it's not gonna work. I hope those signs work. I'm also looking for engineering for drainage work on South Bolton and Spectacle Hill. We have our largest development we've had is coming off of Spectacle Hill, and we'll go down onto South Bolton. That area about every 4 or 5 years floods, and the road goes completely underwater. The residents that have lived there forever, there's no problem. The residents that are new coming in, I can see that being a real problem, and a lot of complaints. Also, there's a caveat. If you vote the 25, I would say if we're gonna solve the problem of that intersection, you are looking at 250,000, because there's quite a few easements that have gotta be done, and a lot of engineering. There is a natural retention basin there, but it's not on our property, and it's gonna be a lot of work to get through. There's another possibility, which I'll come on the next one. I'll go to 19, I was looking for 12,000, just hang on, I'll get to it. $12,000 for run some cameras. Now, I'm asking for 30,000 for East End and road culvert engineering. There is a possibility, and Leslie will be gone, has been keeping track of this, and our former town administrator to me, Shelley O'Toole, has been working with us, and there's a possibility of us having the engineering done. And if we don't want to do the construction, we take those plans and we set them on the shelf. If we have another emergency, which is, they declare that, and it's, let's say, the severest flooding like we've had in the past, and our roads flood, we can take those plans down and we immediately apply to FEMA. And that gets us in ahead of time to cover those grants. Oh, yes, oh, he's well aware.
Well, I know he's well aware, I'm just making sure he's on board with this. Which
Yeah, we've got to do the engineering, and if we have it, then Leslie is working with, who you working with? We're going to, yeah, with NEMA for that, there's a study for disaster.
Oh, the hazard mitigation.
Hazard mitigation. So we're working on that, which we've got to have. We have the hazard mitigation, we set these aside as that, and whatever other ones we have, and then when this happens, if we don't want to spend the money now, we then apply for the FEMA grant, and that'll get us in. Leslie has some work to do to get us there, though.
So just to be clear, you're talking about both the 25 and the 30,000 engineering projects?
If you don't want to do the construction, don't do it.
You just keep it in your back
Put them
pocket.
on the shelf,
Yeah.
and just wait.
How long is the engineering good for? Because that's the concern.
I'll get to that too, I know where you're going. I don't know what you've been listening to, but how long is it good? As long as we do it today's standards, we are not putting culverts in that we can see will cause us the problem. Because I know exactly where you're going. You're going to the fact that we can't slip line anymore and we have to have open bottom culverts. Yeah, I know it. We would have to plan for open bottoms on East End. The other is gonna be all drainage. And we would have to work closely with our conservation to have them look forward to see if that basin, but there's a lot of work gotta be done, a lot. Someday in the future, the town's gonna have to do it, if we can wait for an emergency and to do it there. All right,
So before you go any further, I just want to just take a pause for 1 second. So guys, we're getting the meat of the matter on these things. Capital planning will be able to color in, and then and then we're gonna get the stack rank. I know it's not ready, Mike, but you're working. So
Yep.
I just wanted to.
I'm not stepping on your toes, am I, boys?
No, while Harold's here, I wanted him to just take us through all these.
If you will go to 2020, and you don't have to there, you see a Spectacle Hill, South Bolton. For example, I plugged in 250,000 for the job. I used a 10 factor. If you don't want to spend it, we don't spend it, and we wait for the emergency. Replacement of the pipe at Whitcomb Road, 75,000. That's been a long time, and it's a road that so far is all right, but I just wanted you to know ahead of time.
Hmm.
And being that we cannot slip a line and save that money, by 2022, I figure somewhere there's gonna be another one of our culverts fails. Just understand, you're looking at something around 200,000. Because you're not gonna be looking now for any preventative maintenance or anything along that lines with the new regs that are coming out from DEP and through conservation with the bottoms. We're basically just gonna wait till we see a close to or a collapse and watch it before we can make a move.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. All right, now, I got one more sheet, and that one more sheet was noticed too. Hang on, I'm not through with it. Jeff?
Anyone have any extra Zoloft?
Jeff, we've got the sewage treatment plant, and I'm glad Don's here. I plugged in 168,000. Don, I believe you said for DEP 70,000?
Should be 70,000. You actually double counted some money, so it should be 168,000, but it should be 70,000, and that came out of the meeting that Harold and I had with DEP relative to the treatment facility. We could run into a situation where something happens over there and the school needs to be shut down because it can't be occupied until it's repaired, and we have no money, no repair account at all. And if we were not a municipality, if we were a business, when this was built 10 years ago, 9 years ago, DEP would have required that 15% of the value of the project would have been set aside at the time for repairs. So in the fall town meeting, we appropriated $86,000 to fix the pump issue that's over there now. So I said to DEP, well, following that logic, 15% factor, if we put $70,000 aside now to be able to deal with future issues, would that seem reasonable? And they emphasized that they can't tell us what to do because we're a municipality, but I asked if that seemed reasonable, and they didn't think it was unreasonable.
So this is seed to start a fund.
Yes.
And so I presume from there on, so next year, Don, what might we be looking at for?
My suggestion would be $10,000 a year once we've got this built. And for example, they pointed out, the engineer that we had with us from Whitewater educated us that, for example, there are 8 membranes in that facility that cost $6,000 a membrane. So if those membranes have to be replaced, that's $48,000 right there just for material.
All right, so
those membranes are coming to the end of their useful life too.
Okay.
It's basically trying to catch up on a fund that should be in place for deferred maintenance.
So Don, we would set this up as a dedicated stabilization for
Yes,
that purpose?
that's right.
So would we look for an article every year for 10, or would we add a line item similar to what we did with
I
OPEB?
think if it's a stabilization, you have to have.
Does it have to be a stabilization fund, though?
You can make it a revolving fund.
I
You
would
could
think
probably
a
make it a
revolving
revolving,
fund.
because then you wouldn't need the vote to take the money out.
We would have to, I think, annually
Reauthorize it.
reauthorize the revolving
Reauthorize.
fund.
Similar to the other
Yeah.
ones.
But we wouldn't need the authorization to put the money in, just to reauthorize the fund.
That would probably be easier.
Don, I know you've told me this, but for the purposes of everyone in the room, Harold, where are we? So we are in year what for this water treatment facility, and when will we be coming due for?
It was built in '08, and I believe, and
Yeah, that's what I borrowed.
and the engineer at the meeting said it has a life expectancy of 20 years.
The plant,
Yeah.
not the filters, the plant itself, 20 years, correct, absolutely, 20 years.
Now,
So
obviously,
filters could go tomorrow.
No, they said.
no, but they will show signs.
They'll show signs, they'll give us warnings.
But, no, and the obvious question is, well, what are we looking at in '28? And the answer is, we have no idea what even the requirements are gonna be of DEP by then. And it doesn't mean that the facility is suddenly gonna start operating in 20 years, but we will be at the actual life, useful life expectancy.
And it'll just be paid off.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one was the boiler's 291, which that's changed, and we've discussed it already, and I think Dawn said 30,000. So that would change to that. I also put in Flora Sawyer, the energy management system that Jim mentioned to me, and we discussed it. It's something that should be looked for. It's a system that's failing, and I won't go into what problems they're having, but there's a lot of things that should be working that aren't. But I put it in and there's no price. Can that be held off for another year, I imagine? Whatever you want to do. Also, I'm going to jump ahead. 2019, you got Florence Sawyer School. Florence Sawyer School is a ballast roof. And that is the cheapest roof you can put on anything. If you go on a flat roof, is the ballast. And what a ballast roof is they put the insulation down, they put the membrane down, they put stones on it. The stones are about that deep. And they put that down, round stones. And that holds the mat down so it's not glued down like a really good roof is. That roof is 20 years old. If it wasn't a ballast roof, I wouldn't worry so much because I could walk around and look at it. I can't see. If you have a leak here, right here, you don't know if the hole's over here or here, so you get up there and start shoveling stone all over the place. It's, in my estimation, it's a roof I put on if I want to hold a building for 10 years and then sell it to someone else. That's what I'll do. But I wouldn't do it on anything I'm going to keep. I put the Emerson School in, you've already talked about the columns. Let's go to our public safety building, and it's the fireside. The fireside is a spray-on roof, and there is a coating we can spray on that'll give us another 10 years or so. If Jeff Dickles was here, I'd have him tell you about it, and they'd go in for cheaper money. I put 30,000, I don't know if it's gonna be 30 or 15,000, but it's 2020. It's something you should really think about, that you know that expense is coming to you. DPW roof on the garage, I put that for 35,221. I suggest you get out and take a look at it. If it looks good, you don't touch it. Emerson School roof, again, 2021. It may need some major repair. You'll have to look at your membrane. If your membrane is still down and is still decent, you can stretch that out. But you've got to start thinking, these expenses are coming. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna jump ahead one more time.
Last time.
Yes, repair of distressed driveway. If you drive into, from Emerson to Sawyer, you'll see a whole lot of holes, some holes in the road. There again, what I propose to do is bring in a cold planer, take those holes out, take all those potholes out, fill those potholes, or fill whatever area's gotta do, and that is in preparation for another year out, when you put a thin coat overlay on it. And then I also, if I put under this, in 2021, possibly looking at the intersection of Sugar and for the cemetery committee, looking at doing something out there on that piece of land that was donated to the cemetery committee. But I think there you can also look and see how many, where we are as cemeteries and make a decision better there.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
That's it.
we're good?
You're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for your service.
Thank you for listening to me.
Here's my culvert list.
I have.
All right.
Just have to,
Good.
it's a lot of information.
Thank you very much.
Sitting there filing my nails all day.
I never think that. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. All right, what did I do?
Yeah, fire away.
I'm dying, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, so,
Anyone may come up
I'm gonna
and
call
partake.
them.
Planning board.
Sorry for the wait.
Yes, apologize for the wait, guys.
No worries.
And I must say, you guys are quite the wordsmiths. Can we ever get it down into, you know, shorter?
No, once you get lawyers involved.
Great, all right.
But we're not looking for any money, so.
In the interest of brevity, we don't have to give presentations if you want to just ask questions, but we're happy to give presentations.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think Article 7?
yeah, let's,
Or
Article
6.
6, yeah,
Okay.
Article 6. This is to amend the code, chapter, yada, 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 so donation of land fees, those, yeah, I mean, the reason why I asked you guys in there, because, you know, you guys live and breathe this stuff, you know, all week long as you're putting this together, and then it comes in an exceptionally long form, and I am not a lawyer, but yes, if you could give the Reader's Digest version, kind of get us up to speed, that would be tremendously helpful.
A developer comes in and proposes a significantly sized subdivision. We have what's called inclusionary zoning bylaws. Many towns have them, which will require either the applicant to build an affordable unit or opt to give us a payment, a fee in lieu of providing for a unit. Exactly, a shakedown. This code was written with a static figure that effectively said for every 10-unit subdivision, 8 unit, thank you, $200,000 flat fee must be paid.
And just that, and that was paid after the 8th unit was built, and after the 16th, and so on, depending, you know. So,
this serves to change it to a formula instead of a static number that can be outgrown as the market changes.
Yep.
And this is tied to DHCD's, what they call their LIT calculator, which is the price of an affordable unit as determined by them. So it changes from time to time. I think it's annually. I think it's sometime towards the beginning of the year. This will tie it to that. If you do the math based on today's calculator, I'm probably going to get the number a little bit wrong, because I know we tweaked it a little bit the last meeting it was out. But it's about $180,000 today. But more importantly, it ties it to a formula instead of a static number.
I think the other major change here is that it's paid. So the other issue that we've run into is a developer taking and selling off lots, and the person buying the lot may not know that they're liable for a part of, and you know, if there are, let's say, 8 lots in the development, so there's one affordable unit that would normally have been paid when the 8th one is built. You know, if the developer does 7 and sells off 1, then that person that bought that could be surprised that they now owe, or have to go back after the developer to try to get money back for the affordable.
Okay.
So this is now tied to when building permit is issued, which is kind of our last point of leverage. You know, when that's issued, then the prorated amount of the affordable fee is paid at that time. So whether that's paid this year or whether the developer holds on to it and 20 years from now goes to build on the lot.
Okay. And I assume it's fair to say that Bolton is not, you know, unique. We're not going off the reservation here. You guys saw this in other towns. It's very common.
In my work, I deal with it all the time. Yep.
Okay.
So we have seen the issues that led us to review this part of the regulations.
In our town.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else on advisory have questions, at least on this particular article?
My only question is actually one for all the articles, but it would apply to this one as well. So I know you're not asking for any money, but as part of your process, do you do an analysis of any like financial impact, positive or negative, from a bylaw change?
Not deep dive analytics, but practical common sense, sure.
So does this one, like...
This one we did.
We
did.
This
we tried to keep it
we went out and surveyed a lot of other towns, and you know, to come up with what they were looking at, and it's all over the place. What we did it had been a fixed fee of 200,000. And when we went to, what did we end up at? We went at family of 4 at 70% of the meeting, which is, plugs into a formula that HUD provides. And that right now is around the $200,000. It's pretty close. But now, so dollar for dollar, we're not any better or worse than we were before. But it will now float with inflation instead of
That's for
adjustments in housing costs.
It's formulaic, now it's not static.
Yeah.
All right.
But the impact is 1/8 of this $180,000 per lot.
Per lot on an 8-unit subdivision.
Right.
So instead of getting
it makes the
200
housing, the upper end housing less affordable. So you have.
The sum is gonna be the same, but it's gonna be paid in pro rata increments.
$22,000 is real money, but.
Right, but
Sure.
it was 200,000 after the 8 before.
It's not based
So
on the
it
cost
was
of the housing.
Yeah.
No, but it, the ultimate
This is not,
purchaser of the home is gonna pay.
this is not new. This bylaw
Builder
was,
does not
Right,
take it.
this-
absolutely.
this
Oh,
bylaw
that
was
was in code before.
this bylaw was approved by several years ago.
Yeah, no, I'm not-
We're just adjusting, so yes,
The
there's
question
there's
is,
an
what's the
impact there.
impact? And the impact is 1/8 of the total.
But we're not changing.
And
But, to be careful, it's 1/8 of the total multiplied by 8. It's split up in increments. The sum is still the same.
I think he's just talking about the inclusionary
Who's the
bylaw in
ultimate?
general.
payer and
Yeah.
or payee, I guess. And
But
it's-
we had that as a provision
Yeah,
previously.
which is in place right now.
Yeah.
That's what-
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, it is, I mean, it is,
I mean,
lack of a better word, it's
understand the
shaped.
formula and that there's a lot of
But I
advantages.
think,
Yep.
I mean, the town needs 40B in general, so this goes towards the affordable housing fund.
Sure. Oh, we don't want 40 feet, but we need affordable housing.
Well,
We need to reach
So-
10%.
yeah.
Yeah, we want to, yeah.
All right,
okay,
okay.
next.
Article 7.
Fast food.
So we came to this one, first of all, when Global came before us, they were talking about putting a potential donut shop on the inside, and
Do you
because
have a
of...
munchkin?
Hmm?
Do you have a munchkin?
Is that,
Product placement.
Driving them?
is that bribery? I don't know. But,
What are we-
so,
sorry.
so because of that, Country Cupboard, said, you know, if they can have it, why can't we have a Dunkin' Donuts? We were always under the assumption that that's fast food and fast food is banned. So, it was kind of out there that potentially fast food as accessory was allowed. So what we talked to town council, and they went and looked, there's a definition for fast food here. And there's a line in the middle of the fast food definition that says, the foregoing shall not apply if such sales are wholly incidental and ancillary to a conventional restaurant or other allowed principal use. So town council pretty much said that this means, although it wasn't potentially the intended, I think the intended meaning of that was that a pizza place could have takeout. But what town council said is that it could be taken as that any allowed principal use could have fast food as an accessory use. So it's kind of technically a loophole. I don't think it's what was intended by that, but
Absolutely not.
right. But that's how town council interpreted it, and that's kind of why. And also it's as of right. So pretty much, you know, any principal use can have an accessory fast food use as of right.
If the principal is allowed, and
Right.
fast food is deemed ancillary to, subordinate to,
Exactly.
then it can be allowed as a right. What we're effectively doing here is removing that and
Right.
changing it to.
So we wanted,
special permit.
yeah, so we wanted to, first of all, clear it up and take out the loophole. But then we had a further discussion of is, do we want this or not? And what we determined as a board that we don't see a reason why fast food as accessory shouldn't be allowed. If you take, for instance, the Country Cupboard and you put a Dunkin' Donuts in place of the coffee stand, what's the difference? Or the what's the one in Bolton Orchards?
Red Barn.
Red Barn, you know, if it's Red Barn, we don't see a problem with having fast food as accessory in a primary use. So what we did is, Article 7 and 8 will be presented together. So in the primary use, fast food is, it's not shown here, but fast food is still a no in primary. But under the accessory table, we're adding fast food, and for business and limited business zones, fast food as an accessory.
As special permit.
It'll be a special permit. So we'll come before the planning board, we'll look at it and see, you know, is it really an accessory? You know, for instance, although it wasn't a special permit required, but when the Dunkin' Donuts was gonna go to the Country Cupboard, You know, we looked at, you know, is it primary, is it accessory to the convenience store? And we determined, yes, it is. So that's pretty much it. And also as a special permit, it allows abutters to come in and, you know, argue their points for or against it.
Yeah.
But as of right now, as it stands, according to town council, fast food as accessory is allowed as of right. So we're cleaning up this loophole and putting a line in the accessory table and saying it's special permit.
So I would, strictly a suggestion from my behalf, others on advisory, please feel free to weigh in. And I know the moderator has taken the approach of, you know, allowing certain discussions or, you know, slides to take place or not. I would almost proactively, before this comes on, and being asked by town for you guys to get to the mic, I would almost proactively have a slide. I'd explain the special use process.
Yeah.
And I would...
The controls behind it.
Yeah, because there's gonna be someone in the crowd who says, you know, what used to be the lamp shop, you know, is selling lamps, but is all of a sudden gonna put in a Dunkin' Donuts, right? I mean, they're gonna take it to the extreme to kill it. So whatever it is, I would simply, my suggestion might be to proactively explain.
Describe what the process is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially, because I remember you guys going into explicit detail on one of the articles last year about special permitting, and
Right.
all of the...
We changed
all of the boards that-
industrial to special permit.
Yeah, I mean, that they're going before you, they're
Yeah.
hitting across several different departments,
Yeah.
the select...
And so when you invoke special permit, you also have DRB. So if you're looking at the country covered, you know, and there's no difference to the exterior, there's no drive-through because that's not allowed. There was a coffee stand and now it's just a Dunkin' Donuts. And you have to go in front of the Board of Selectmen for signage. So if there's no blinking neon sign, it's some little respectable wood sign and there's no real change, what's the big deal? You know, that was kind of our opinion.
But more to the point, it's a transparent process.
There's a special permit process.
You know, it's gonna be the top,
Yeah, I mean,
describe that process.
When, you know, I had heard for years, special permit,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until last year where you guys were talking about it.
I read through it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you went...
So if it's deemed detrimental to the neighborhood, there's so many ways that it could be shut down with a special permit. I mean, it has to pass through a 5-member board, pretty much.
Yeah, man, I think it's important that everyone in town, or that everyone that will be at town meeting, understand exactly that.
So we understand that it wasn't the intent. There is a loophole. We're clearing up the loophole, we feel. You know, if we didn't touch it, fast food as an accessory would be allowed as a right, if we don't touch this. That's how Dunkin' Donuts is going into country covered right now.
I think that's your opening salvo right
Yeah.
there. All right.
Amongst cheers.
Very exciting.
Any other questions on 7 or 8? Okay.
So then on 9,
Yep.
the discussion of accessory got confusing. So the current wording really didn't make any sense to us. So this is the definition of what accessory is in the bylaws. So currently it says, a building or use customarily incidental to and located on the same lot with the principal building or use, except that if more than 50% of the lot area is occupied by such use. So, you know, looking at this instance of the Dunkin' Donuts, so, you know, country covered is 8% or less of the lot. So any accessory use would be less than 50%, you know, of the lot. So it would, everything would fit in that category. So really that line didn't even matter. And then it combines a building or use customer. So pretty much we looked at all surrounding towns' definitions of accessory, and the one that we favored was Stowe's, which is it separates out building and use. So going from what we had, combining building or use, and talking about the 50%, says accessory building is a detached building which is located on the same lot with the main building or use and which is subordinate and customarily incidental to the use of the main building or land. So you can think of like Jay's restaurant on Neshoba Valley Winery. And then accessory use, any use which is subordinate and customarily incidental to a principal use, so Dunkin' Donuts and the country club. So we feel like that
They need to be separated, they're two separate concepts, and it gets pretty confusing.
And getting rid of that 50% of the lot area is occupied with such use didn't make sense to us. I mean, maybe in some, I don't know, maybe Ken, maybe you have some history on that, or maybe that's even before, you know, because I know you were involved in Jay's, and I think you were, weren't you?
Yeah, putting that together.
Yeah, so we just tried to clear up the definition of accessory a little bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you foresee anything, anyone or any entity in town looking at a change of definition like this and being concerned? Because I'm not seeing it, but I'm.
Well, I know
it seems like it's.
I know some people came to Erica asking if this is in a relation to 401 Main Street, which it wasn't at all. It's kind of coincidental. Well, the whole discussion of is there cultivate counseling accessory and stuff, but it has nothing. We're just clearing up the definition of what accessory building and use is. It has nothing.
The genesis was the country covered.
Yeah, the genesis was the country covered, and that whole 50% thing. You know, well, we were like, so could we say it's, you know, so we were just discussing is Dunkin' Donuts accessory. We were like, well, is it 50% of the profits? Do we want to ask for people's profit? You know, is it going to be less than that or that? So pretty much we kind of gave this general description of accessory where we can fit in it, you know, determine if it's accessory or not. And actually, I don't even think, it's still the building inspector that would determine ultimately if it's accessory, and then we would go through a special permit process. That's correct, right?
Yep.
So it's just clearing up the definition.
So, Tom, if I may ask, you being a lawyer, do you see any issues or concerns with the change of definition on Article 9?
To be honest, I don't even, we don't have those materials.
Sorry.
I wasn't given them, yeah.
I can give mine.
It says comma.
Yeah.
Here.
This one right here.
That's the warrant.
This one? Okay.
That he needs. Yeah, that's.
Oh, there's something with your name on it. Okay.
So on page 7 that we're talking about, Tom.
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
It was just the present definition where it's in italics, and I was just, you know, they're looking to essentially change the definition, clear it up, separate out accessory building and accessory use.
Get rid of that 50%.
And I would just, given that you're here, I just thought I would ask your opinion if you foresaw any issues or concerns with it.
And this is the exact wording that Stowe uses.
Yeah.
These two, dividing them out. So we didn't make it up out of thin air.
No,
I don't know.
Okay.
I have a question. It's more about, so when it comes to principal use, are those actually defined in a document somewhere for
Yeah,
each?
table uses.
So, but like for a specific building, let's take Bolton Orchards, for example.
It's based on zoning, so limited business zone.
Yeah, but he's asking for the property specifically. I think when they come to us and apply for a special permit to operate their property, we will talk voluminously about what their use will be, what their primary use will be.
Because we'll
probably get even more specific, talk about all their uses if there are multiple.
Yeah, because what I'm trying to get at is if accessory is always defined in relation to principal, then we're going to want to at least be clear about how principal or when principal is defined.
Yep. Yep.
So that was just the only thing I was wondering about.
Yeah, I think when somebody comes in and says, I just want to build a building, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to use it for, I don't think that would fly very well.
Okay.
So it's, you know, is it an office building, is it a farm stand, is it a grocery store, what are you building? And then
so
that gets captured as part of the
We get
permit.
pretty specific. One of the examples, Condyne, used to be Flatley, owns our office building in the center of town. They came to us for a permit to subdivide the lot and put in a healthcare facility. And it wasn't simply deemed healthcare, is it skilled nursing facility, assisted living, independent living. It was very specifically, this is what we want to do, these are our hours of operation, this is, we didn't get to who specifically is going to be the operator, but exactly what it smells like, what was.
Yeah. It gets a little confusing with pre-existing non-conforming, but with any new
Yes.
property, for instance, 470 Main Street, which hasn't been developed yet, which would be to the left of Country Covered. They came before, and they have to go through the special permit process, which includes the design review board looking at the architecture, everything down to the type of trim, landscaping, any little thing you could talk about. And then for us, we talk about all the allowed uses. So that's going to be a two business property, and so we actually listed out. It's like 20 or 30 potentially allowed.
That which you can do, that which you can't do.
And then that also lands in front of the selectmen at some point in that process.
Selectmen has a
review.
site plan.
All right.
I just have a question. So the 50% is just for the accessory use within a primary use? Or is it for everything?
The comment, the existing comment that we're getting rid of referred to the accessory not being more than 50% lot coverage effectively, but nothing can be more than 8% lot coverage. What they effectively meant, I think, if I'm extrapolating, is it can't be more than 50% of the building layout.
Okay.
So Country Covered, to pick on them, comes before us, wants to do it. Dunkin' Donuts, if it's 20% of the gross leasable area, it's less than 50. I think that's what was intended.
That's what we took it as.
We got far more simple and said, is this subordinate to the primary use?
Mm-hmm.
Is this subordinate to the primary reason folks are coming off the road and going into the store? We got more general.
Yeah, we were pretty sure that they intended it to mean the building coverage, but the lawyers and the town council said, nope, it says lot, so they mean lot, Yeah. So.
Which is moot.
Yeah.
Oh, you could include something like an miniature golf course.
Exactly.
Though, and that's not inside a building, but is part of a lot, so I think that's probably what they had in mind.
We looked at that. We looked at Kimball's Farm Stand, stuff like that, where it really is an outdoors type of arrangement.
Yeah, there's quite a lot there.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on number 9? Okay. Article 10.
Just updating the base map. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
So this, not dissimilar from the inclusionary zoning, the very first thing we talked about. Our requirements for firefighting water supply for a commercial building, an industrial building, or a big residential building, a 3-unit or more. It has a very simple formula that multiplies the square footage of the property to arrive at how many gallons you need in your firefighting water supply. This takes that arithmetic out and simply refers the reader to a national standard of fire protection. So as the standard changes, we will be informed by that standard. We'll consult with the fire chief and come up with what is reasonable for this property at this point in time. So it won't get outdated.
When it's being
exactly
built.
It won't get stale.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, so this came about because the fire chief came to us for also with 470 Main Street. Based on the square footage of their building, they were required a 3,000 gallon tank, which they did.
He wanted a monumentally higher number.
Chief Menza wanted like a 30,000 gallon tank. So we didn't want it to be solely the chief's decision, but we wanted to take in his input, and we wanted to take in the national standard and come up with a number that we can work, into the special permit.
If you used that calculation, you would have, on that property, come out with 3,000 gallons. He is going to err on the side of conservatism, and he had a hugely larger number. This kind of takes the subjectivity out of it and says, let's look up the book that talks about fire standards that gets updated from time to time.
And so
the other thing that's in here is it's actually in I think it's Article 12, which is the old definition, which just says that the water supply needs to be within 1,000 feet, but it doesn't define that 1,000 feet as being road distance.
It could be between the roads.
Yeah. So if you're building on, up in the middle of Long Hill, 1,000 feet might be the middle of 85, but there's no way you're going to want to drive that whole thing back. You can't count a water supply there.
It needs to be 1,000.
It's got to be 1,000 feet as the fire truck drives.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to,
And so you guys may or may not know, but the fire department over the past several years, that they did not this year, but over several years in the past, they've come to us asking for money to upgrade
Next year.
the various fire holes
Oh, yeah, sorry.
around town.
Yep.
But this is something that if it was a new building coming in place and it's that particular owner would be responsible for following these. This is not something that the town says yes to this and then the fire department comes back and says, well, all these other fire holes that you guys said yes to, we've got to now.
It's new.
You are correct.
All right.
Yep.
Would it help the reader if you had a reference to the NFPA paragraph or section or code number? Because, I mean, they have a ton of different publications.
Let us look into that. Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
I don't think that'll change. I mean, there'll be a section, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, but I mean, I'm not sure we want to reference a specific thing here, because if, you know, it may change, it may be that depending on what the property is, it may be different sections are.
Okay, I could look at a way of better reference.
And that's kind of what we were looking at, you know, so we're gonna be putting in some rules and regulations around it that, you know, to help, yeah, but I mean, if Global comes in, you know, what we need for a gas station is gonna, you know, may be very different than what we wanted for 470, you know, for example, so.
Yeah, I don't know how they're organized. If it's possible, I think it would be.
Yeah, it might be broad. I mean, the book itself, to be able to point the reader.
But that's why I'm
thinking out
asking,
loud.
because I know it's
Yeah, I know.
it's a
But we'll look into it.
major.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think the big thing is that we're referencing it back to the national standards and going with as those change, as those get updated, you know, they'll be reflected. And not just again, a static number that not everybody agrees with.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
13 is pretty straightforward. If today someone were to pull a permit to do a gut rehab, a tear down effectively of an existing house, we don't have any provision in our code that requires them to bring the driveway up to code. So if Harold were here, he would be championing the fact that water runoff into the roadways can be an issue with some of these older driveways. If folks are effectively building a new house, but it is a tear down, everything else is new about it. There's nothing in our code requiring them to bring that driveway up to code. This simply does so. This simply treats it as if it were a green field.
A new build.
A new build.
Yeah. Unless we have one provision that a waiver may be granted at the discretion of the planning board if the applicant can demonstrate it's impractical or impossible to meet this requirement.
I didn't know we had that. That's good.
Oh, yeah, you were gone for that
I was
one.
gone from that one.
Snuck it in.
And rebuilding due to a fire is also exempted from, or other natural.
Let's say, we originally wanted to say to a fire, natural disaster, but we figured it was more general to put what we put, you know.
They've gone through enough trauma in their life.
Yeah, we don't need to cause them to, redo the driveway.
And
Well,
again, I'm
and
assuming
again, there may be
that
places
we're not
where what they have
going
is the
off
best they can do.
the reservation here. This is something that is fairly common. You guys are seeing this
All
in
new
other
hou-
towns.
Yeah, all new houses already
Okay.
do this, you know, so it's just, if you tear down a 1,000 square foot ranch and you're building a mansion, you just have to upgrade your driveway.
Okay.
The last one is a retail marijuana sales moratorium. It is not at all dissimilar, and in fact, it's kind of a copy-paste from language that the town voted on a year ago, 2 years ago, with respect to medicinal marijuana. So this is, retail marijuana is coming. I think we sense that there's a Commonwealth-wide moratorium, and this might be duplicative. That's not 100% clear. So it might at worst be belts and suspenders, but at best, if there is not a rock-solid Commonwealth-wide moratorium, now Bolton has a moratorium. We're seeing this all over the place. Towns are doing this. I think Boston has done it, but several towns have done it.
Just to give us some time, I mean, similar with medical
Time to
marijuana,
plan.
a little extra time to
Yep.
plan it.
Okay.
In theory, right at the end of the last calendar year, the legislature or
Yeah.
Two members of the legislature voted to, in off session to
So does it count?
extend the dates that were in
If
the.
it counts, this is belt and suspenders.
It ends
If
at-
that didn't, then this is.
It ends in December 2018, so in May of 2018, we would have to have a bylaw in place and how we're gonna handle that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? So, as you guys went through this, I heard that there was one section that you might add some clarity to.
The fire protection, with a
Yeah.
little bit of specificity, sure.
Other than that, you
This
guys
is
are
it.
fairly confident this is what,
Yeah.
all right.
I think this was draft 10.
No, it's fine, because, you know, it's one of those things, you know, the edict of the committee of the past has been hesitant to vote
Sure.
while these things are still changing. That's all.
That's my opinion. These are solid, they've had their public
Yeah.
hearings
Yeah.
and.
And I don't necessarily want to vote tonight anyway, since we're missing two, but,
No, we belabored these, nice and good.
okay. All right, thank you very much, and I apologize for blowing the schedule. Thank you. Look at this, Dave pulling double duty.
Stick around.
Right.
I'll let this one go.
You guys, I gave you one of these, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll hand over your document. I don't know if you guys got, I don't believe you guys got these.
What are we looking for now?
I think I already gave you.
Oh, this one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Charles stole it. All right.
Yeah, so some of these numbers will change. The school numbers, but let me know how you want to start. If you just want to start.
Yeah, so, you know, Mike and I were having a conversation this morning, a little bit through way of email. So thank you guys for being able to come in and talk about this. It's my understanding you guys are still kind of working through the official need.
Yep.
Okay. Any idea when we might have that from you? And then I guess my additional question is, and I recognize the school guy is new, but I don't know if you guys heard it, but I heard him commenting just on a lot of, well, I put the number together. I was told I had to be here, so I put a number down.
So,
And,
so you weren't here for this. So so this is the first time that we've seen these requests from the
Okay.
school. Some of these were carryovers from previous years.
yeah,
So last year, we didn't get any capital requests from the school. I think you're
Yeah.
aware of that. So some of these are just, they were on the list previously, they've been on the list for years. AC is a perfect example, and it's just the same number as it was back when you were on capital plan. The generate, like, none of this was shocking. Even Harold talked about, so when we met with Harold, he went through the school.
yeah, exactly. And I know Harold has
With
been
us.
helping out as much as possible and helping to
Yep.
get up to speed. And so I
The
feel
only, the only problem with that is that we're getting two different numbers from both of these guys.
yeah.
So we'll need to work on that.
Brad says take the lower one.
Well, when in doubt, if there's uncertainty,
Exactly.
let's at least start there.
Always that
That's a
one.
good point. So painting was a new one that came up. Harold mentioned that could be a year or two out. Just something as a heads up, have this
Yeah.
on your 5-year plan.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, the fact, I mean, you guys, well, Mike, you heard it. I mean, I asked one particular question on columns, and he very quickly said, yeah, it could probably go up another year. I mean, that's a $90,000 number, which I know where we are this year.
That's big.
It's probably not, it's a big number, right?
No,
And I'm not saying next year's gonna be any easier or any better for us.
No.
But at the very least, I would love conviction from him that says, I know for a fact that it's this, and that, you know, boom, right? And it is critical that we get it. And so, I didn't hear that.
No, no.
And that's why, getting
Well,
those
it's the same
final
thing.
comments from you guys are
Yeah.
so important.
Well, I mean, just based on what he said and what we've talked with Harold and even
Yeah.
Bill Cleary in the past, those columns, they don't need to be done right
Yeah.
now. They're not gonna fall apart.
What is this, the 29 Emerson? The old
22.
piece?
22 wing,
22.
just the big columns up.
Yeah.
Right, that's been on our list for
It's been,
Since I-
3 years now.
yeah.
And it started off as 10,000 and then 20,000 and now it's 90,000, so.
But again, from a layman, they look like columns. They look like the same columns that are out in front of this thing. And how is there such a disparity
Well,
of number?
granted that this, I think there was more work to this
Yeah.
than there was to that. But I don't think we'll know that until someone actually goes and really does it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I got the impression that wasn't we must do that this year. Even with the painting, I mean, the painting is in rough shape. I mean, I dropped my kids off there and the painting of those windows in general are rough.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, they're very nice, large, beautiful, historic, whatever it is, but I'm inclined to say, what would it look like? What would the number be if in fact the windows were taken out and new legit energy efficient windows went in?
Can you though? It's historical.
We should ask.
I'm sure there's a historical component. I don't, but my first thought is,
Once you commit to $40,000 of painting, now you're committing to keeping the windows as is.
yeah, I mean, I guess I just look at
I was in
it.
school there in 1987.
Yeah. Again, I apply it back to my own personal house, right? What way am I going to go on a given project?
Yep.
That's all.
The generators, so that's been on the list for a long time now
Yeah.
as well. The comment I made about I think there's 3 separate boilers there. I mean, if we need a generator plus wiring to each of the boilers in order to run them, this probably isn't the right cost. So, I mean, I would be, and I didn't get a chance to meet with them. We still could. We could try to sneak in a meeting with them. I mean, I would be of the mind to wait on the generators for a year and get better clarity on what the real cost is. Right? We've lived without a generator there for this long. I don't see waiting another year doing anything. Because I know that just from the town's point of view, we don't like to throw out a number and then have to come back later on for more money. And my guess is that could potentially be more money.
Well, yeah, and I personally was not getting the sense that there was a lot of homework done on that number.
Again, this was a holdover from years past, and I think they just took that and they said, oh, generator.
Very general question, but we typically get a good sense of cost estimate from the department head. We're not seeing bid backups. Do you see bid backups?
You can't get
Remember
bids.
what Don said?
Estimates.
You can only get
Don
estimates.
said you can't get bids until after the thing has been approved.
Good faith estimate.
Yeah.
See, so the best you can do.
But you can get a good faith estimate.
Yes.
You get a
Good
point.
And you should.
Yeah.
You should be getting 2 to 3.
Okay.
And for
We
especially,
don't see them.
yeah, well, you should probably
Okay.
ask.
No, we don't see them.
You guys do see them?
I see what you guys do.
Okay.
We don't get estimates.
So no.
No, that's not true. We do get estimates. Like
We
there's
do
an
from some
estimate.
departments.
I think Harold tends to
Who
get that.
provides that kind of information or has it
Yeah,
available?
it is definitely all department specific.
Yeah.
Right? It really, and like,
Some are great.
that's, yeah, and I think, definitely some are better than others, and, we're working on getting, better controls on that.
But to your point, you're not gonna see a formal bid until it's been appropriated. That
Correct.
contractor is not going to produce it.
That's
He's
right.
just gonna give you a good general sense.
Okay, that's what he said.
We've talked a little bit about this, Harold was in here earlier this evening. We've gone back and forth about this a couple of years. When you guys were talking with him, and I've spoken with him, just the sense of frustration on, department-wide, do you maintain as is, or do you start to move towards an outsourced service?
Mm.
Did that come up And, you know, where are you guys with that with him?
It did come up. I sense that, speaking for myself, I sense that he has a preference to go towards the lease option or the subcontract option
Yeah.
rather than purchase and maintain capital. I think there's, speaking for him a little bit, but using my own voice, I think that there's some hesitation on his part that he would need to see, obviously, increases in the operating budget if he was going to see decreases in the capital budget. And I sense that he is a little nervous about that puts him on edge a little bit.
Well, yeah,
Whether that will be there year after year after year.
Yeah, so there's a couple things from my perspective, and I'd be interested to get, you know, your opinion as well. You know, I mean, I look at it as, I mean, it's, at some point, I think we need to start figuring this out, right? Because, again, you know, so he's got what I refer to as a Band-Aid, you know, fixing trucks for 35 grand, right? And then next year, we're gonna spend $250,000 on a brand new truck, which, when you look at the fleet, I completely understand why we're doing that. But then when I turn around and say, well, if we are gonna move towards...
Then why are we buying a new truck?
Well, the next year is where the rubber meets the road on this, because that's when the first time, we haven't bought one of these for several years now, the Sanders, which are the more expensive ones.
Yeah.
And I was gonna be of the mind next year, it's like, well, let's drop one out of the fleet, right? Because we said we're already down a Sander this year,
Yep.
and so they sub out for that extra truck. I think we maintain a fleet of 6 Sanders.
Yep.
And we talked about going out to 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's, and then he's moved, you know, we still need the big Sanders, but, you know, we're buying these, you know, Ford 550s at $100,000 a pop,
Mhm.
right? And again, I look at it as, and I know, I caution with what I'm about to say. I know the state of Massachusetts is not the ideal fiscal, you know, wing, but at the same time, if they've moved to an environment of, you know, outsourcing as it relates to, you know, the plowing.
Why aren't we doing it if we're teaming?
Well, yeah, I guess, you know, my thought is we bring in folks already now, right? But I know what is involved in a full-time employee, which is
that's his
salary.
That's exactly his point. Healthcare, et cetera, et cetera.
Healthcare.
You need to look at apples to apples.
Healthcare and retirement for the rest of their life, not just while they're here.
Yep.
That whole thing, right?
He's on the exact same page, if I'm speaking for him. I think the frustration is he did the analysis years and years ago with a different board, and exactly what you just said was not taken into consideration by the board, and it wasn't an apples to apples comparison. They weren't really giving him credit in his analysis for all of those ancillary costs.
Yes.
He claims that he's done the numbers, he says he's done it a couple of times, and when you really look at apples to apples, there's considerable savings. For a town of 5,000 like ours, going to a model of leasing out the work.
Well,
bidding out the work.
specifically for the snow.
Yes,
I think.
that's what we concentrated on.
So like when we talk about the 19,000 truck that they're looking for this
Good
year.
point. Yep.
I mean, that's a workhorse, they use that year round.
Exactly.
And they beat the hell out of them. So I mean, does it make sense to lease that truck? I don't know. I don't really answer that. Probably not. We seem to get a lot of years out of.
No, yeah. I'm not even talking about a list of
But
equipment. I'm talking
the
about
Sanders, the big ones.
Yeah.
Those I think we should really take a look at as to whether we keep purchasing those.
Because, yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to say hire a service, and when the snowstorm is done, they're gone.
He and Leslie have to start an analysis, and I offered to help quite a bit, but they need to start an analysis, I think, now, and run it over the next 12 months, and present it to all of us and say, look, this makes sense. I'd certainly be a champion of supporting it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But he certainly needs to
economies
be
of scale,
involved
we're not
in
big
any
towns.
Oh, no,
Because I mean, he should be in on this discussion to be able to give his thoughts on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
For example.
I've talked to him at length about this. I'm pretty confident I know where he stands. I just want to get a sense of where these guys were, just simply for the fact that, you know, of all the departments, and again, granted, he's got the most amount of equipment, but, you know, with a 5-year capital plan, you know, he has always been the one, you know, to do a good job blowing out 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's also the one to, we're re-jockeying because all of a sudden something comes up and there's a culvert that's got to get, moved up or whatever it is. So that's all. I just want to get your perspective on that.
That's true, and I think we asked him that question, is why, if that's what we want to move towards, why do we purchase one next year? So,
Yeah.
maybe this comes up next year when it's more serious, but
But it ought to be come up earlier in the year. Though.
I agree.
It has,
Yeah.
no doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Other questions from advisory? Donna?
Could I ask a question about the engine 4 replacement?
Yes,
What are they, what are they doing?
that was
That's the first I've
the brush truck. I got the capital for him.
Oh, 250,000.
250,000.
It's the first time I've seen this.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I just wonder in light of the
Um,
fire apparatus that we finally got after 3 years.
Yes. So this is the brush truck. It was, I don't know if I have the other paper. It was
So-
international replacing the
So
Ford.
we have one now.
We have one now. So this was, I had actually emailed Chief Menzer recently to get a couple more answers about this. So
Yeah.
one of them was how many calls did that truck respond to this last year? That's the big one, right? I mean, is it worth spending $250,000 for something that goes out not too frequently? It goes through May through November, I think, was when this was on the road, he said.
So that's not currently in the warrant, right?
No.
No. No.
What's the
When
name of it?
did it come in?
Yeah, it's,
Because he never mentioned
When
it.
did it come in?
It might,
FY18.
Well, they're looking for, I mean, it's been in their capital plan for easily 4 years.
So it hasn't been, it was never in 18 before because I went through all of those sheets and created the 18.
So I wonder if
I
it
remember
was
seeing it in one of the out years,
It's
but
been
not in
in-
18.
Something fell.
Maybe
I think that's
19,
prior
it's
to
been
this
in his
year.
list.
Is that what you're saying prior to this year? Because
No, this year,
he got it.
this is the.
Because that's
So he
interesting.
submitted these later.
Right, because we never got
he
the
was out.
budget, right, he was out.
I think that might be.
Yeah, because there was no article, so.
So,
Well, functionally,
I think
how
we
would
should
the
be
existing
pushed
truck
off.
Yeah.
differ from a new truck? It doesn't matter how many calls it makes anyways.
Everything that I have.
How does it function?
Yeah.
it does,
delivers the
I
same
think
gallons.
it does matter how many calls it makes.
So
But if
It responds
the
to.
current one, if the new one would function the same as the current one, then, I mean, what you're buying is either better reliability or more functionality.
Sure, I mean, the other one is,
It's gotta be a difference.
the other one's from 1986, so that's the big,
Has he talked with you about this?
Just the age, that's all.
You've met with him?
Is it for
And he
this
sees
year?
that as for
This
this
year?
year? But
He
he
hasn't
submitted no
proposed an
article or
article or
anything?
anything.
Yeah, these guys wouldn't be responsible, know where the
No.
article stands.
I think it's because he was out.
yeah.
And
I-
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's the
Things
first
are-
thing
yeah.
anyone's hearing about it other than you guys.
So this, yeah, I mean, no, March to November, used for brush fires. Need to see how many calls it responds to. Engine 4 replacement, which currently is 750 gallon supply, International 1984 four-wheel drive off-road replacement. International 1500 is the current model, replaced with a Ford Super Duty, I don't have the exact number, 300 gallon water supply, 4-person cab.
So the current one is in such a state that it probably can't be used for another year or?
I didn't get that impression.
Oh, so
We should
that's-
find out if this is going on the warrant.
I was gonna say, well, you guys, like you said, you haven't really ranked what you feel
No, and
is
this
a
one,
necessity or,
until I see the call volume,
yeah.
response volume on this, this was low. We know this is low on our priority list, without even ranking.
So can you guys, to that point, can you provide any additional information on the 40K request from
Yeah, that
ambulance?
was my next one.
Yeah, so that is a response vehicle that goes along with the ambulance. The current vehicle is,
It's just the tow vehicle they want, right, the SUV?
yeah, so
Do they
the-
have a current vehicle?
it's a,
No.
yeah, it's a 12, yeah, it's a
They can have
12-year-old
something.
Crown Vic is what they use. Okay, and so they wanted an SUV for towing a light tower and this Gator off-road vehicle that they got as part of a grant. That was the major thing. This cost was gonna come entirely out of the ambulance receipts fund, which I talked to Don, and he got me an answer from you, I believe, which was we have a lot of money in that fund.
There's enough money.
250K in that fund, and he said we're averaging 100 some odd thousand per year going into it.
Yeah, but so I'm sure you guys may or may not know this, but that is also something that, I mean, that's a lever that we've got a game plan, right? We bought an ambulance, we're gonna buy another one.
But if it's averaging over $100,000 a year, and we're replacing an ambulance every 5 to 7 years, that's way more money than.
Sometimes we use the money though to offset their budget as well,
Right.
their operating budget too.
I've
And we've been using between
50,
70 and 90,000-ish.
That's right.
Per year.
Exactly.
So there may only be 25 to 30,000 per
Right.
year.
Yeah, that's right. I got
Before it
the,
is on my list.
yeah, all right. Yeah, because, I mean, that's something that I end up having a conversation with the Notchka. I haven't yet, but we sit down and figure out, all right, where are we? What's the run rate? What makes sense to get pulled out?
That's great that you have that as a resource. It's one of the things we talked about. I didn't realize that it could be used for anything other than.
No,
That's
it's only for ambulance
For their
specific
needs.
things.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah, I mean, so
they're operating.
but
You can't use it to balance our budget.
Yeah, I mean, so the game plan is so that when they do need an ambulance, you know, we're able to go out and get one without having to go to a borrow.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's been some things that have changed in that world, right? I mean, they're sharing with us that they're utilizing this advanced life support more so, they're intercepting.
Okay.
So, you know, my thought is the wear and tear on that ambulance cannot be as great as it was on ambulances of the past.
Okay. Is this forward?
But regardless of the situation, just because it gets replenished at 100,000+ a year, just because there's, quote, a lot of money in there, it doesn't necessarily deem, well, let's go do this. So I've read the article, I understand it. My first question is, does it have to be new, right? Can it be used? When is the next all-wheel drive police cruiser falling off, and can they use that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those are some of the questions, and.
I mean, I don't know how we buy used cars. I don't know if there's really, is there a process for that?
Well, we need to take into account green communities as well, that this vehicle has to be green.
Well,
I believe, I don't know.
There's a lot of caveats. Like I knew Harold, the car that he drove didn't need to be. I think it was like purely administrative.
Things are
cars.
grandfathered until they need to be
Fall off,
replaced.
yes.
And then, maybe not police cars.
That's what I mean,
One
that's what I
is,
mean.
a police car is not manufactured yet that's acceptably green and fast all at the same time.
Yep.
But other vehicles that can be green have to be green. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but.
But they do take the existing fleet, and if it's no longer a value for a police officer, then they usually go to the DPW, whether it be for the maintenance person or,
Before green communities, we could do that.
right, we can't do that now? If
That's
it's-
my understanding, but.
Really, so you can't use it at all?
But Ted.
So they think
we
just
looked at
dumping
this
it is-
At least with respect to
Yeah, you think
administrative
recycling
vehicles, and I
would
knew
be
there was a carve out for that. I'm sorry, not administrative vehicles, it's the other way around. If it was like a true DPW vehicle, it did not need to be green. If it was a town administrative vehicle, that's where the rule came into play and it had to be green.
A DPW truck doesn't need to be green, but I think a DPW.
You might be right.
Person hauling vehicle needs to be green. And I guess my question on this SUV is, there was mention of it needing to haul on a trailer.
So this was the frustrating
Is that
thing about this
principal
was.
or incidental use? Or, I mean.
Nice to have.
So
So
there are options, whatever's in that trailer, it needs to be in two places. Buy two contents and store something here and then duplicate it over here, and you don't have to haul them back and forth. I don't know what.
Well, I already heard nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we got this Gator thing for free, but now we have to buy an SUV to tow it.
That was my issue last year.
Yeah.
That
So-
everyone's all excited about. It doesn't cost us anything, and that is such.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
Police So the townwide radio infrastructure, so this was the first time this showed up on our list. And this was, while we agree that the current system needs to be updated, this doesn't need to happen this year.
Can you share a little bit more about that reason? Because that one's interesting to me.
The reasoning was because the chief himself told us that. He's like, we are where we are. It's the same system we have today, the same system we had last year, the same system we've had for 20 years or whatever it is. It's reliable, it has its problems, yes, we need to replace it. The fact that it just popped up this year as opposed to a few years ago, and I realized, Chief knew the job, but I mean, this was never kind of on our radar in any sort of 5-year plan, and it's a big budget item. And there are potentially grants available for it. So I think we need to do some due diligence and investigate grants for something like, with that kind of a price tag. We should see if we qualify for some grants before we just immediately say yes to it right now.
Yeah, so that's what you pointed out is always my first, really? Because I agree that all of a sudden it came on this year. The difference where I have with what you were saying is, Brian and I met with the chief, we're liaisons for the police. So that was in December, and the picture he painted then, it didn't seem good, right? I was like, this sounds really bad. He was in here last week, and again, that picture seemed, pretty bad.
So I watched that meeting. The one thing that he wants, and he talked to us, was the generator for the current site. And I think that would improve their lives currently until the whole system gets replaced, and then we have generators for all that. They don't need to drive around.
Yeah, and he had said, I think, that once it was replaced, they would still keep the generator price, so you could make a case to put the generator in.
So part of his trouble with this is the fact that when the power goes out, someone needs to go up there and do that.
Yeah, and bringing up cans of gas to keep the generator
car
going.
batteries that it runs off of.
Two concerns I heard is the repeater or whatever it is if it were RPMs, it's running at the red line.
Yep.
So that doesn't sound good.
Yep.
And then there are dead spots, so that, I mean, the functionality that we're buying here is to be able to communicate, but if you have dead spots, it sounds pretty serious.
I totally agree with that, but we've had those dead spots presumably since 1999. Right, I mean, those dead spots didn't just happen last month, right?
But
that concerned me more than anything else.
I mean, I don't know if there's a workaround there or a short-term fix or what.
He made it sound like he's got it tuned in about as well as it can be.
What the cost of that could be, I don't know.
In your discussions with him, it's interesting that all of a sudden everything's loaded now, but they have nothing for the next 4 years. And, I thought we were trying to stress to departments, and I'm sure you guys do, that, we're looking for a 5-year plan.
Agreed.
So, so next year, I can guarantee this, something's gonna be there, and it's like, you weren't thinking about it, so it's.
Well, I have a conversation with Mike every year. It's generally at the dump because we run out of time. And I hammer him. I'm like, I need a legit 5-year plan out of you guys.
Yeah.
Right. We all do.
Although, in all honesty, police
and then
generally
this happens.
Police generally comes to us with a cruiser, which is part of their budget. So we sometimes discuss it. But I mean, that's well understood and well justified. But in general, I don't think they come to us with a lot of capital items.
No, they don't, not like the DPW.
Yeah.
No, but it is just the example, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, Margie, same thing, 40,000, ambulance out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
that's like, I don't want to say no on principle. This one though, the fact that like we could potentially qualify for grants on that. So we really ought to look into that.
Well,
the radios.
But it's kind of like the solar lights too. It's like, oh, Lancaster has them, we need to get them. Because they even came to us to see if anybody had any extra money this year because they wanted to go get them.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because it's flashy and pretty, you want to go buy them? I would
Well, no,
think
in fairness, I think they believe they'll work.
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of being flashy.
So, damn, I wrote that.
It'll be interesting if they keep working in year 2 and 3, or if people get dulled to it,
Yeah,
Like,
the novelty is a surprise factor.
Exactly, yeah.
Are we good on the radio infrastructure?
Yeah, no,
I think again, nice needs to be replaced. It sounds like it definitely, based on everything you said, this definitely needs to be replaced. It doesn't have to happen this year.
Did he separate out the generator enough so that we
The
could?
generator, I believe, is in his operating budget.
It is.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, I didn't see that.
Is this radio, is there positive probability that it could fail in the near term? And then what's the cost of failure?
Yeah.
Although you don't want to push everything off either. I see that roof replacement at 800,000. Like
Yeah.
if we push everything to 19, then we're fully
I
loaded.
think the only reason that I would push this off is to investigate grants.
Yeah.
Do something to see if we can get
Right,
some money
right.
for that.
Well, no, you're right, Dinesh, right? I mean, on the very bottom, right, it's all totaled up.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is where it would make, you know, their job so much easier if we got a legit 5-year plan out of everyone.
Right.
And you can level it
And then we
These
go,
guys-
ooh, 19 is horrible. We don't want to push
Oh, yeah,
anything to
these
19.
guys could
Right.
work with the departments to jockey, so the very bottom could be more smooth.
Yeah.
Exactly, I agree with that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, 19 was great until the roof came along.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, you're right. The roof is a big chunk of that.
So again, I think we recognize the need to replace all that infrastructure. You know, I don't think it's a public safety issue in the sense that the chief said, yes, we could do one more year. I think he as part of his job came in and said, look, this is a problem. I'm gonna throw a stake in the ground and say, we need to fix this. And, you know, he wants it sooner rather than later, but it can.
Well, no, I mean, this is the whole point, right? I mean, this is why you guys meet independently, and, you know, it's not that we keep the budget from you, but, yeah, I mean, the idea is for you guys to be able to operate in a vacuum of those costs absent of the overall budget, and then we come together. So, if there's a possibility over the next, week and a half, we get that stack rank. I mean, we're starting to come down the wire. We're gonna need to start voting on these articles.
I mean, we just need to meet once, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is I think we have town caucuses next Monday.
Monday, I have planning board Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Any other questions from advisory while capital planning is here?
So did you guys discuss with somebody the solar traffic signs? Was that with the chief?
So we talked,
chief,
yeah, with Bumper on that. I think that they probably do work. If we want to do traffic calming, I think that's probably a cheaper way of doing it than a lot of other things. It's probably reasonably effective.
It does seem like it's a concern in town, too, from the Facebook chatter and all that fun stuff.
Well, that's only a small section of people.
Noisy section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also come up at Tri-Town meetings.
Okay.
It's issue. I think the one concern that was raised about having those traffic signs near the high school is the speed limit's 45 there, so it's going to be green until you're 50. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
so that's the only concern with that. But I think Bumper talked about having it display something else, like a warning, not necessarily showing what your speed limit is right there.
My impression from the one in Lancaster, and it's only an impression, is that you can actually, it's not telling you what the speed limit is. It simply
Telling you
says
what
slow
you're
down.
doing.
Well, no. I mean, you can infer.
But I think at the high school, you could probably put it so that if it was read at 35 or whatever.
I don't
it was,
think you
if
can do
want.
that.
Hey, you're looking
But
at
it's
cook the
not an
books.
enforcement thing, it's simply a warning.
But actually, you know what? That was the other nice thing about it.
Yeah, you can put a message, to your point. I think you can.
Yeah, it says slow down, and if
Yeah.
you're below it, it says thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not, so that's not an enforcement issue.
The other nice thing about those was you could actually pull traffic data off
Yeah,
of those,
that's-
which I thought that was
that was
a
a
great
cool
idea.
thing, yeah.
So if rather than having to wait for a traffic study, you can do your own
Right.
sorts of studies on that. How reliable they are, I don't know. I drive past that one in Lancaster a lot, and I've seen it.
Where is it? Where in Lancaster?
It's right on 117.
It's right on
Before you-
117.
right before you get on the
curve.
to Route 70.
Yeah.
And then there's one on the other side
the
of the
other side.
road.
Okay.
And the one on the other side, the one coming east is important because you're going down that hill.
Yep.
And it's
By the
40,
farm
45 until
Yes.
it's right by
It's
there.
beyond
And then
the
it
farm.
immediately drops to
Okay.
30 right there, right before you come into the
Okay,
big
yeah, that
city.
makes sense.
Drive right by them, they're real effective. Yeah.
So I don't even see it.
To be fair, Dave doesn't pay attention when he drives.
It's true.
So, yeah,
Sorry.
I see the value in those. I'd see them as, rather than spending big money on other things, that's where I would see that money being better spent. So, I think I without even giving you the formal list, I think we've, as a group, have discussed close to what our final priorities are. They're not the final ones, but the boilers at the school, that sounds like that needs to happen. Right.
Yeah.
The sewage fund needs to happen. DPW truck repair needs to happen. Loader repair needs to happen. I think we had debate about the South Bolton Spectacle Hill engineering. I think that sounds like it's a nice to have thing. If the concern is that it floods and people complain about it, people complain about lots of things. It didn't sound like that was gonna necessarily be a safety issue.
Yeah, no, agreed. I got the sense it was more from a flooding concern as opposed to a failure
Something's gonna
which
fail.
causes,
It's just an area that every few years does flood, and we should address it at some point. So if we're just looking at things to prioritize, that one was a little bit lower. The four-wheel drive truck, a little bit lower on the priority, but still, we know that the DPW needs those and uses those and gets its money's worth out of those. Emerson driveway repair, that is in rough shape. And then everything lower on the list was the traffic study at Forbush, engine 4 replacement, the police radio, solar traffic signs, and the SUV for ambulance.
All right.
So.
Yeah, so if, and I know you guys are pulling double duty with, multiple, committees, so, thank you for volunteering your time.
Sure.
But yeah, if you could get us
We'll try to get
started,
you that.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
You guys have any questions for us?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So advisory business, so a couple things. I guess I first wanted to, just get your sense on, one on the warrant.
Can I do something before
Sure.
we go on? Tom, before you leave even, we're meeting next Tuesday, and my suggestion would be that we have an explicit agenda item on COLA, and that I would volunteer to work with Donna and Don, who isn't here, to take the more or less consensus towns that we've got and get numbers from them and put that in there and get from Donna whatever she's been able to get off of her thing and bring that to next Tuesday's meeting. And I believe you guys are posted, right?
Yes.
And so, to me, there's no reason that we couldn't agree to something next Tuesday, which would be a lot better than waiting until the 16th for them to be able to plug in the COLA. Now, if it's really important to wait, then we can all take action on things without it. It'll just it'll have us be working with incorrect numbers that she has to put in at the end of the game rather than before. So that would be my suggestion, if you're willing to do that. And we have the flexibility to put it on our agenda because our agenda's not set yet for next Tuesday. And so that's my suggestion to all of you, and we'd make it to Don next time we see him, and I don't see it as difficult at all to come up with the data to
No, like I said, I
plug
think
in
we
there.
collected most of
And
it.
if you want more towns than even that, then that could be done. Let's not overdo it, but I think it's very straightforward information to get, and we ought to be able to get this one off the table next week.
No, I agree. If that is capable, if next Tuesday can work for everyone, I agree. The sooner the better. And knowing that it's public and knowing what you guys have to do with continued negotiations, I mean, the concern is, that was my hesitation on getting real specific. So yeah, I mean, the sooner the better. So Tuesday, if you guys plan to be here, great. Yeah.
And do you have an agenda for a meeting that's double posted this way, or do you just use ours? Is your agenda just that you're attending our meeting?
Right.
And you would be allowed to vote on something?
Yeah. It's
Okay, that's what I
posted.
would hope, okay. Certainly the way it used to work, so I would hope it still does.
The one bit of information I'd want is what their COLA was last year, because from what Donna said, she's talking about what people are projecting they're gonna be, and what they are finally agreed to, I think is important. So if we could just kind of verify what in that group.
Sure, okay.
Do you want what their 17 rate was and what they're projecting for 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I would almost argue that even a couple years worth.
Well, don't go crazy.
Well, I mean, I think that's what
We can also have to
Carried away.
to get, 5-10 years worth
No,
of
no,
stuff
I'm not-
is a lot of work.
I am not saying 5 to 10 years.
So why don't we
Call
say,
like 10
3
towns
years.
and asking them.
why don't we say
3 years is
17 and
about-
18?
Yeah, all right.
3 years sounds great.
If we have somebody who's
Yeah.
willing to give us that, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we just go a little crazy. What happened 100 years ago isn't really gonna help us project forward.
No,
You
I
know?
completely
I mean,
agree.
it's ridiculous.
And just as an example, because, where the potential danger is in this, is that in Mark's case, they did 2% last year. The year before, they did 0. And the reason they did 0 is because they were in a financial crisis.
Right.
And they had their financial people leave, they had new people come in, it was kind of like the school. They had a forensic audit, I mean, all hell broke loose over there. And so they froze everybody,
Right.
salaries all the way up and down the line.
I'm not sure.
They got their act cleaned up, everything was set, so then they said, okay, we're gonna give you guys a COLA because you've suffered through this with us. And then they had this other one, so they're gonna show 0, 2, 2. So let's not overreact if we see a number one way or another on these things, because, and I also don't think we should have to get a justification from every town as to why they did what they did in the year
No,
that
you're not
they
gonna
did.
get that.
So that's just, would be my only caution.
All right, so the game plan is, you're gonna work at getting some numbers with Tom, and then I will make sure that it's on the agenda for next Tuesday.
And since, and so you could do it right after the discussion of the comment, which is when Donna's
Right.
on there anyway, so do it right at 7:30.
Yeah, and I've
Then
already
take
given
her-
you the health insurance
Then
update,
take
so,
her,
I mean, if there's questions.
and then we go right into the budget anyway, so.
All right. Yeah, and it would be, yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the 2 folks out sick, and I'm hesitant to, start voting. I'm not even sure if we could vote on many of these, maybe 1 or 2 articles, but hopefully next Tuesday we can knock out some of the article votes. So I would ask all you guys to just spend a little more time taking a look at the warrant as it is right now, and I'll hook up with Linda and just ask her to apply additional pressure, given the fact that school seems like they're gonna throw on 3 or 4. Fire department, get some clarity on that one. Yeah. The other thing is, you guys saw that I forwarded along the draft of the annual report. Ken shared early on that he's got, some edits. So,
Yeah, I'll send that to everybody.
yeah, so my thought is we'll just pass over that. We can revisit that for next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Night.
So, how about an update on GFOA from like where on the stuff that we were trying to get ready? What are we missing? Do you guys have a sense of what we still need?
Well, I mean, we need some stuff, but momentum started, but then I've just been sucked in a million different directions with stuff. So, I know I'll be getting together with Brian over the next week or so.
Yeah.
It's been impossible to focus on any of that, just because.
We probably need to get some policies to the selectmen to vote on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do it while you're doing the budget, you know?
I had a point of clarification. It just occurred to me today when I looked at our draft of the annual report. So all the org charts and FTE things that I've been doing up, I've been doing it based on information for this year. So really, it would be published in next year's report because it reflects data that we're reviewing in the current budget and under the current staffing scenarios.
Well, I guess there's a couple different things. That there's what's going to be given for town meeting.
Yep.
There's what's going to be given for next year's annual report. And then I think there's also what's going to go up on the website. Printing wise, I think how Northborough does it is they don't print a massive document for their town meeting. They have it up on their website.
And I think
that's more or less what's submitted for the
That's what you're
GFOA.
doing, and that's what, I think for this year, what we're talking about.
Okay.
The annual report is really less important, and I'm not downgrading its importance, but it's more of an historical document.
Right.
That's really there to tell somebody in 20 years what we did during that year. It's not so much to educate the public to vote on something.
I get that. What I wasn't sure about is where we planned on publishing charts.
Exactly.
And that hasn't been determined, and that's the biggest
No,
problem.
it hasn't. It hasn't what we're doing.
And we have to decide if it's gonna be electronic or not, that's one decision, or if it's gonna be in the warrant. Because if it's gonna be in the warrant, I think as we've discussed, this affects Linda and the publication and the amount of paper that gets thrown away and all that stuff, and believe me,
And we
they
really
do.
have to get moving too, if it's
Yeah,
going to be in
that's
the
right.
warrant,
That's right.
I think if it's up electronic, it gives us a little bit more time,
Right.
before town
Yeah, we
meeting.
could almost use the time in April when we have a breather after
Right.
the budget is done to finalize that stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe have a reference in the warrant that, in our statement that says, hey, we've done these things, and you can find them here, and they describe these.
And then on the website, we can also put
Yeah.
a link saying, there's more information up on the website.
No, exactly. And guys, remember, the game plan here, we got
It's
started.
multi-year,
We got started, and it's gonna be multi-year, and I see this as, I think ultimately when we get to this year's town meeting, we will have been able to provide the townspeople with more information than they had last year, and that's the game plan moving forward.
That's the key, is we're continuous improvement, so going
Yeah.
electronically is showing more, and
So if we had your warrant charts and your mission statements and his glossary and some of the definitions of the things that I wrote about, which are different from the, in a little bit way, it's different from the glossary. Seems to me that's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one other thing that I was entertaining for the warrant is, if you guys remember, the moderator kicks off the meeting, right? And we go to the back of the warrant, and there's the entire budget, right? And he takes
Section by section.
this section by section. So, my thought is, and I'd be interested, I'd like all your opinions. I saw what the town of Northborough did. They went to a section, so we'll just take police, for example. And, the poor folks at town meeting, if they're just looking at that budget that night,
Which they probably are.
Yeah.
they see, police go from 900,000 to 1.2 million, they're like, what the hell, right?
Right.
But if underneath, we took Ken's minutes, right? And even, condense that to a 2-3 sentence section that said, police budget, this went up because of this, just to, in writing, gave a couple of explanations.
some footnotes.
I'm smiling because I can't apologize, keep coming back to Mark, but I'm also on their finance committee, and yesterday we did exactly that. We went through the FY17 expenses and the FY18 budget, and and we asked them to boil it down to about 5 bullets to explain the thing. He brought those 5 bullets to the advisory board meeting today. We explained what it was, everybody understood it, and they voted on it. So it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That would not be hard to do.
It's still,
I don't know whether they would want to, I don't know who would want to deal with that mixed in with the budget, but maybe they would.
You mean in the budget document itself?
Or as a
Or a
slide
slide?
up. I think a slide up, because he goes through all the things and he's reading it. If you had the slide up there,
yeah.
it kind of explains what he's reading, so people would see the numbers and then they could read those couple, bullets or whatever. Because I'm not sure how it would flow in the document itself.
Yeah, so no,
It's an Excel
So
spreadsheet.
one way you could do it, I mean, it would almost have to be cut and paste since the thing starts as an Excel file, but you could take the general government section and have that, and then end that, and then you would start whatever the next one was on a separate page.
Yeah, again,
So you could do it.
Yes,
But
Ninoska,
it would be a little messy, but you could do it.
I'm not looking to mess up the spreadsheet, but yeah, my thought was it was right in those back pages. I can understand where you guys are saying right on a slide. I guess the only reason why I thought in
So
the
people
warrant,
could read it themselves.
exactly,
And
because
read it.
they're going to get it in advance. I would like to think some people are looking at it in advance.
Yeah.
That's all. And again, I'm not looking to take.
You could just put a text box, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I'm not looking to take Ken's entire meeting
Does she
notes.
just take what you give her as is and plug that into the
I believe she
printout,
does.
and fold that in? Okay.
Don't break the.
I know. So that was the other, that was it.
I
A
think
couple of
it's a good
sentences.
It might be possible.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Exactly, nothing big, and again,
Two or
really,
three little.
so for example, tonight, right?
And some may have nothing.
Why did DPW fall by 100 grand? Well, because the
You know,
previous
put that
year.
in a budget, in a bullet.
I know.
No, but the thing is, it's there, right?
Yeah.
People are gonna see it,
And
and
nobody's gonna talk about it because they see it.
exactly. If that one sentence will prevent one person from getting up in front of that mic,
Then it's worth it.
makes sense, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to stifle discussion, but
Well, you're gonna have plenty of discussion.
yeah, people are still gonna get up in front of the mic,
Well,
which is fine, but
you think
again, it's a function of sharing more
It wouldn't
information.
be about that particular item at least, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in light of that, in light of the time, again, thank you for being here. I know I beat you guys up when you're here.
Can I, two obscure things. One after capital planning did this. It worries me when you look at FY19, and again, to reinforce, in 18, our SBA, that
That's a
431,000
good
goes
point.
away.
That is a good point.
So we're already in the hole that much, and 19's already looking big, and we're already down those funds.
We do have to keep reminding people.
You have to keep
about that,
reminding
Because
that,
that
because
is
that's a huge chunk of money.
almost
I
a,
thought it netted at
almost a half a
170 or
million
something.
dollars.
What netted what? No. Every year.
No, I know, but the debt goes away also. And so I thought that the net between the refunding of the debt going away and the money coming in from the state netted to about $170,000.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, you
right,
can't-
right.
Yeah, you could,
You
yeah.
can't
Do one without the other.
You can't do one without the
Yeah,
other in
yeah, I see
either
what you're
direction. So you
saying.
can't say,
I'll
oh, the
double
net's
check the
going down
numbers.
by half a
Yeah.
million, but you can't say that the revenue's going down by
Yeah.
4. So,
But I can tell you,
You gotta post
I'll
that
be kind
debt
of
right
scrounging
back up.
around for some money to pay for something, and all of
No,
a sudden that 431 drops in the bank, and I'm like,
No,
thank
you're
you,
certainly
God,
correct
you know,
about
I mean,
that.
it's,
Yeah.
but no, I'll check to see what the actual net is.
No, I mean,
yeah,
this is.
I had looked at that, and-
Yeah.
but that does make sense.
And the other thing too, and this just came up at a meeting I was at, the discussion on revenues and the whole solar thing that we had talked about weeks back. Remember, it was like put solar panels on everything?
Oh, yeah.
I was at a meeting on Thursday, and we have to be very careful as far as if you were looking at the library or the public safety building, because they were talking a lot about debt and how it's structured, and a lot of municipalities are putting solar up everywhere, and it's taking away their tax exempt status on some of their bonds because of how it's structured. So if we are thinking about looking at it at some point, we have to do it with bond counsel to make sure how the funds are coming in and being used. Just keep that in mind.
Great.
Because I know we did talk about sticking them everywhere, and a lot of municipalities are doing that. But how it's done has to be done careful. Because a lot of tax exempt debt out there is not holding, and it's going to taxable debt, which we don't want to do.
No.
That's just my weird thing, so.
Okay. All right, anything else for the time being? I'll entertain a motion to close out this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right,
All those in favor say aye.
Wow, that's stomaching.